All right. Welcome, brother.
What's up, dude?
All right. Everyone, welcome to episode 6 of Loading with Will and Finn. We are back in studio, as you can see, back with my partner.
In the stew.
Back in the stew, and we have a super cool guest this week. He's one of our close friends from high school. He is a stud golfer and plays for University California Santa Barbara Gauchos. His name is Brandon Bueno.
We know him, you love him, Brandon Bueno.
Mr. Bueno.
What's up, guys?
Thanks for coming, man.
As Will said, we've known this kid for a minute. He's a really close friend of ours, and a pretty stud golfer as well. So we're going to try to just get his take on a bunch of things in general, but also kind of see maybe a little inside golf and just get some...
Big golf episode coming your way this week.
Big golf episode. Get some takes on
So
some
if you
recent
don't like
events.
golf, this probably isn't for you. I'm just going to give you a heads up.
Yeah, well, you know, we're funny though. Stick around.
So we're going to start a little bit away from golf. Bueno, we know you just moved your little sister into USC today. Congratulations, Bianca, on starting school. And we thought it'd be fun to reminisce about our freshman move-ins and ask, like, if you have any memories from moving in freshman year to UCSB.
I totally do, and the first thing that comes to mind is, you know, there's the big long line, and the cars come in, and then you move all your shit into the dorm. And then, you know, as soon as you got your stuff in, coach said, you know, meet him. We got a team meeting, everybody as soon as you can. And, you know, I show up super early, you know, like a freshman.
Early.
First day. And I'm sitting there, a couple other kids come in.
How early in terms of minutes? How early?
Before the meeting started, probably about, 80 minutes. I guess it took other kids longer.
Like an hour and a half, bro?
Like almost an hour and a half.
That's a
there
lot.
You go, all right.
So I was just kind of sitting there awkwardly, like, with coach, you know, hey.
Oh, was that miserable?
How old is he?
He is 65 now.
65? What's his name?
Steve Lass.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys hit it off? Or was it like an awkward 80 minutes where it's like you just are bringing up anything you can to like...
No, Coach Lass he's... I didn't really like him at first that much, but he's grown on me a lot. He's not in for small talk or bullshit or any of that.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm. He's very man to man, and he treats us like men. He, leaves us responsible for a lot of things, like practicing.
Is that being nice for saying he's a hard ass?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No, he's
hard ass.
Super old school. He's, done some things that other coaches probably would frown upon and whatnot, but I'm fine with it. You know, obviously a lot of people nowadays are, coaching styles are different, let's put it that way, compared to how they used to be, and I'm more on the old school grind. So
could you give us like a small example of that in a way that you're comfortable with?
Yeah, so, let's take the first day. We'll go back to the story. So the meeting finally starts, and, he basically goes, what did anybody accomplish something over summer, golf-wise, tournament-wise or anything, that they had never done before, and that was, like, really noteworthy? And he talks like this, guys, did anybody do something worth talking about? And some kid who's not on the team anymore.
Damn.
Rip.
He raises his hand, he goes, I almost qualified for, this tournament. I forgot what it was. And coach goes, you almost qualified. You almost fucking qualified. Just, it was like the first thing, and he just loses it on the kid, and it was hilarious.
How is that noteworthy?
That's tough to be the guinea pig on the first meeting to just
was he in your class
get a sense for what the coach is about, and he just instantly goes in on this kid.
Exactly, and the rest of us are kind of sitting there like, okay, this is
I guess we don't do that.
Right, just make less is more a lot of the time with him, and it's kind of the way it should be. If you play golf, it's kind of, a lot of people like to talk about the round or what they shot or whatever, and, nobody really cares. If someone cares, they'll ask you about it, and if you play well, then people know you played well.
Do you have a relationship with the players on the team where you guys interact more about how you play day to day, or is it still kind of you don't talk about it?
We do in a constructive manner. I think coach has created that the environment where when you are talking about golf, it's something that actually matters and is constructive. So every time after, for instance, after we have a tournament round, so the way college golf is formatted is you'll have 36 holes on a Monday. and then you play 18 the next day.
36 holes on a Monday?
Yeah, 36.
Every Monday? Or
Not
whenever
every
the
Monday,
tournament?
whenever the tournament is.
Dude, that's gnarly.
So
That's
you can't
a
have any
lot.
classes on Monday?
No, you can, but
You miss them all.
You miss them all. So some kids actually try to schedule all their classes on Mondays. But so you play the practice round Sunday, 36 holes Monday, 18 holes Tuesday, and then drive back or fly back or whatever it is. And after every day, we all have a team meeting in the hotel room. And this is a pretty cool thing: is that coach and our assistant coach, Jim Lee, they're not part of the meeting. They let us talk about everything ourselves. And they might say a thing or two in the practice round or while we're playing, but they trust us enough that, you know, we've done our research and we're going to play smart and we're going to come together and, you know, make a good game plan. And when we come back, you know, in the meeting, whenever we talk about something, it's like, you know, hey guys, I fucked up on hole 12. You know, I made a 6, and it was because I short-sighted myself left of the green, and that's a really bad spot if the pin is, you know, X, Y, or Z in a spot in the pin. Or,
Can you talk about how you possibly analyze a course before you're about to go play it? Is that how it goes down?
Yeah.
Talk about the analytics behind before you play.
So there's a lot of, you would call that course management,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a huge part of golf. A lot of kids that are studs, ball striking wise, being able to hit the ball, putt, chip, that's all awesome, but being able to navigate your way around the course in a smart way is huge in the terms of limiting large numbers, because everybody's going to make birdie, especially at this level. College, pro, you're all going to make birdies, you're all going to hit good shots, but it's, you know, when you're out of position, when you're hitting when you hit a couple bad shots, where do you leave yourself?
How do you put yourself back into a competitive position?
Right, and you know, you're going to have misses, and as the great Ben Hogan once said, golf is basically a game. Who wins the tournament missed the best, you know, had the best misses. And so a lot of that, for example, if you took a green and the pin was on the right side of the green and there's a bunker on the right side and the green is sloped away from the bunker, and then there's regular, you know, rough or fairway on the left side, and you're in the fairway, you know, never should you aim even at the flag or anywhere right of the flag. Because if you're in that bunker, chances of you making par, getting up and down, are very slim. Versus if you miss, you know, if you aim at the middle of the green and you miss left, you can easily get up and down. So a lot of people, you know, if you were smart, you'd aim at the middle of the green. If you push it, then you might have hit it right at the flag, and that was an accident. And you hear that a lot on TV, you know, when there's a pin tucked on a really hard hole on Sunday at the US Open or whatnot, and some guy flags it, it's right at the pin, and you know, the announcer goes, that probably wasn't on purpose, you know, because that's
Probably smart enough
probably
not
right.
to be doing that.
exactly not to be aiming there, and he just happened to push it.
Or are those
towards
dudes
the
just
flag.
going at it because of the moment?
Right, you know, there's
Or are they
different ways
that
of going
good?
about
As
it.
a competitor, as
Or are they
the
that
audience,
good?
I'm always like, nah, he meant that shit. Like
Yeah,
he's going
There's
for
no
it.
way, like, Morikawa didn't mean to just yeet hole 16.
That was absurd.
We're gonna get to that later, but that's what popped in my mind. You can't deny that. You know what I mean? All right. For moving, right?
Oh
You're
yeah.
still
moving
breaking
it.
down course management, or is
No,
that-
I'm good. I mean, we keep talking about it for, you know, and bore the shit out of you guys.
All right. We can sidestep course management. Bueno was about to go deep, but do you have a move-in story worth telling?
Yeah, actually, I probably do. So,
Did you go random, or how did you?
Yeah, I
find
went
your-
random.
How did you find your roommate? Let's just break that
Yeah.
down.
Well, as an athlete, a lot of the times they want to put you all together. So there's this basically dorm in Isla Vista right off campus called Tropicana. Everybody calls it Trop. And that's where, you know, they have a deal with the UCSB athletic department where all of the kids basically live there, with the exception of men's golf and then men's and women's volleyball. And so coach basically goes, you know, do you want to live on campus? Do you want to live in Trop? Do you want to live with a kid? I don't give a fuck. You know, wherever you want to live is cool. And I was like, you know what? I'll live, you know, with some rando. Says, you know, I'm going to meet all the athletes regardless.
Yeah.
I'm
Smart.
going to meet the guys on my team. Let me meet, you know, other kids. You
I
know,
like that.
Regular kids. So I actually got super lucky. Oh, here's a great moving story, right? So walk into my dorm room, and you can move in at 11, and I walk in at 12, and I'm like, I'm pretty good. I'm only 1 hour after. Hopefully, I'm gonna be there before the other kids, so I can get my
get your
shit
spots
together,
out,
right? You know, the whole deal.
Get the good room.
Get it picked out.
Exactly,
Get the
the
good
good
room,
side of the room.
Yeah.
And we had a triple that was for a double, so coach kind of hooked it up in that sense. And this kid's name was Riley Carroll. But so I walk in, and he's already been there, and his parents are already gone.
Yeah. His parents are gone already?
Gone. He takes, you know, it's a bunk bed, and 2 desks, and he took his desk and my desk, and had 2 like PC monitors, 2 big computers, and
on your desk,
one of the cameras. Yeah, so he took his desk, put it under his bunk bed, and you know, I walk in and he's playing some video game. It looks like he's flying drones over Afghanistan or something in there. And I just walk in, and he's got his headphones. Like, you know, hey man. Nothing. And I go tap him on the shoulder. Hey, dude, you know, I'm your roommate. What's up? I'm Brandon.
Oh, what's good, bro?
Nice to finally meet you.
Did he look away from the game?
He goes, okay, cool. You know, all right. Sick.
Yeah, that's so anticlimactic.
In your head, though, you're like, fuck.
I'm like, yeah, well, we might not be the best friends because I don't really play video games. Never have.
Yeah.
Don't think I ever will. But
yeah, it's too late at this point. Yeah.
So it turned out perfect because his girlfriend also from high school also goes to UCSB and lived in the dorm literally across, you know, the dining commons, and he happened to be there 80% of the time. So
you had a single and a triple.
Basically had a single and triple, and you know, October, you know, relatively early on in the year, I didn't see him for a good probably 7 days straight, and so I was like, you know, I'm gonna shoot him a text. I was like, hey, you know, are you okay? What are you doing? I haven't seen you. You know, we're roommates.
You still go to school here or what?
Right, yeah, like what's up? And he's like, no, I've just been hanging out at my girlfriend's place, and you know, went back home this weekend, and I think we're gonna fly to New York on Monday, and be gone for another like 6 days. And
you're like, bro, what?
I'm like, why don't you like let me know?
Yeah, like give me a heads up.
Cool. Like, have you been doing this all semester?
Right.
Like, have
so
you been regularly flying places or?
But we had it really. Let's put it this way: we peacefully coexisted. I don't think I've talked to him since.
Yeah.
We never had any problems. It was super nice. We just, you know, didn't become friends, but it was perfect. If he wanted a room, he could have it. If he wanted to play video games or have a night with his girlfriend or whatever, I was totally cool, you know, and it was great. Peacefully coexisted. And I couldn't, you know, ask for much better. And I got really lucky where all the other guys on my floor happened to be a bunch of like crazy nuts too. So
cool.
That was fun.
All right, Finn, how about your move-in?
Oh, okay, so the way it works at Bama is you go to orientation first, and typically your orientation is like sometime in the middle of the summer, and then you come back.
That's how it was for Michigan too.
Yeah, which doesn't make sense if you're
just paying for 2 flights.
Yeah, it's paying for 2 flights.
Yeah,
like it's just dumb.
Well, because like you have to book your classes over orientation, so there's an incentive to go earlier, and especially like at
But you're basically just spending way more money.
They're the type A type people that go to the first one.
Exactly.
To get all the classes.
Well, I was the type C person that went to the last one.
Okay, you went to the last one.
But especially because I was like, dude, I'm not going to get 2 flights to go to the same place. Like, that's dumb. So they have this one option where it's like, you go to orientation and then move in right after orientation. So you get the earliest move in. Which to me, I was like, that's freaking Moneyball right there.
Right.
I get to not do 2 flights, and I get the pick of the litter of my dorms, right?
Yeah.
So I get in this place, and like, I don't know. I remember there's some Bama portal, and like some kids were like messaging me, and I was like, you seem fine.
You have to talk about where you lived because it was like the most premier living I've ever seen for a college freshman.
I lived in this dorm called Pres 2, I believe. I was in Pres 2. There's 1 and 2, and they are cribs. They're massive dormitories that are insane. It's Lord of the Flies.
For people at Michigan, it's like a Zaragon-sized apartment. A very nice apartment in Ann Arbor. Like that's what you guys had.
It's
with a
suite
common
style.
area.
You have a common area. Everyone gets their own rooms, and it's Lord of the Flies because it's just kids not being managed. So throughout the year, there's all sorts of funny things that kind of pop up. But this is day 1. I just finished orientation. My sister was a couple years above me at Alabama. So she helped me move in. My parents didn't come out. And I scoop up my keys from the front desk. They're like, if you lose these, you know, you got to pay money, whatever. I was like, yeah. Give me the keys. I want to go get in my college
Give
dorm.
me the keys.
I want to go get in my college dorm and like, you
Yeah.
know, get this thing started. So I come in and grant you, I have the earliest move-in time, like the earliest one. So I open the door and there's someone already in the dorm room.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's weird. Like, and I check and like his room is completely set up and had been lived in for like a week. And I'm like, what? Like, I was like, no, this is really whack. Like, I thought I had the call at the earliest door at the time. So I'm like, put my stuff in there. I turn to my sister. I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. So I'm like, this is really weird. And this guy comes out, and he's like, oh, my name's Eric, yada yada yada. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like, I noticed your stuff was already here. How'd you get in here before I did? And he goes, oh, well, the RAs get to move in early.
Oh.
And I'm like, what? Like,
one of your 4 suite mates was an RA?
I'm like, what? What? Are you serious? Like, and turn to my sister, close, like, politely, I'm like, oh, that's great news, good for you. And then, like, that's really cool. Like, close the door to my suite, and I'm like, Sophia, what the? Like, this is not okay. Like, this isn't the story I had in mind, you know? I'm freaking out in my room. I'm like really pissed off. I'm like, I don't want to live with an RA. You know what I mean?
That's
like,
so
it's tough because this guy's a grad student too. Like, he doesn't want to live with a bunch of freshmen. Like, I just I didn't want to be part of this.
Did they get like tuition benefits for being an RA? Or
they live there
how does
for
it
free.
work? Okay, they live there for free.
So free housing, which is a sweet deal.
That's like
you know?
10. That's like 10 G's almost.
Exactly, and this guy's being super responsible. You know, he's got a job already lined up.
Good for him.
But I'm going into college. Like, we are on total different planes of existence. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm freaking out. I literally dip out of the room ASAP. Didn't unpack my stuff. My sister's like, "Yo, like, Finn, don't worry about it. It's gonna be fine. Like, it's gonna be okay. You can try to request to get another room." In my panic, I lost my keys. So I end up having to pay like $150 to get new keys.
On the first day?
Within the first 30 minutes of being in this thing.
Fucked.
My roommate's an RA. I didn't unpack any of my stuff and wouldn't proceed to unpack any of my stuff for the next 6 months.
You showed up to Bama and they dunked on you.
I slept on literally a bare mattress with a blanket. For 6 months. And I was happy as a clam, to be honest. It was like, I was just so stoked to be in college and having a good time. But so we're doing this thing, and the crazy part of it is, you know, the RA actually ended up being my best roommate.
of the
other three, he ended up being or of the 3 like roommates I had, he ended up being the best roommate.
Wow.
Yeah. It was
so first don't judge a book by its cover.
Don't judge a book by cover. He was a good guy. I mean, I was never really worried about him being a bad guy. I was more just like, I don't want to be living with someone who's a senior in college while I'm a freshman. You know what I mean? And like ready to leave. But it ended up being a really fun year. It gave me incentive to never spend time in my dormitory.
So
I didn't want to be doing that anyways. I wanted to be out and about and meeting people and doing that. So it was good. Yeah,
my experience was rather the opposite, I would say, because I was lucky. I basically, like, my parents' only rule for me, because I had a couple close friends of mine from high school go to Michigan. My parents' only rule was I couldn't live with anybody I knew in high school.
Sure.
For the same reason Bueno wanted to branch out, and
totally.
You know, the whole theory was like they would make their own friends, I would make my own friends, and then like we would have that much many more people to hang out with, right? So I go on this Facebook Finder and end up meeting this one guy, Chase. Shout out to Chase, from San Diego, and played lacrosse at Torrey Pines. He was a cool dude. And so I basically was telling him, like, there's 2 separate campuses at Michigan. There's Central Campus and North Campus. Okay. And the whole deal is no one wants to be on North Campus, bro. It's like just all the classes you take as a freshman are on Central, so you have to take this 15 minutes bus back and forth
the freezing cold, yeah.
And then in the wintertime, it's just that much more of a pain in the ass. And you have to probably Uber home most nights you go out. So it's just a pain in the ass. And I noticed online that the only triples on campus were on Central, so I was like convincing this roommate who we had already made an agreement, like, let's go find a third guy so we can guarantee to be on Central. Yeah. And he was like, down. And it's cheaper. So we're like, yeah, cool. So we both go looking for another week, and we both come back with the same guy. We're like, oh, awesome. Super cool. This guy's named Mike Kendrick from New Jersey. Really cool dude.
So he checks out.
He did an internship with Jack Wilson last year in New York.
Very cool.
Shout out to Jack. So we had this cool setup, and we get there, and we get our room assignments, and it's like, yo, dude, do you guys see where we're, like, Chase sends in our group text, like, do you guys see where we're living? And it's like, I've never heard of this place, right?
Oh, God. Oh, no.
So it's called Fletcher Hall. It's the smallest, oldest dorm on campus, right? And it's the furthest away from Central that is technically on Central, right? There's only 3 floors, and the other dorms are, like, sick, brand new, and, like, right next to a dining hall. We have to walk, like, 15 minutes to get to the closest place. So it's practically just as shitty as being on North Campus.
In fact, it's probably older and shittier. Like,
it is older, but the good part was, and I moved in also last, but they had both, they were basically not 3 rooms, they're only 2 rooms. They had both moved into the double and left the single for me. So I was like, damn, okay. I'm living in the single, that's cool. So the single was the first room.
Dude, these guys are unreal homies.
Yeah, they were really cool about it. The guys left me the first room, which is like the entry room, that had 1 bed in it and like a TV and all the desks. And then they got the second room where we had a sink in our room, which was hype. So we got to like brush our teeth and shit. Like we didn't have to go like to the random like common area to brush our teeth at night, which was like really nice to not have to deal with that kind of awkwardness. Because we didn't really fuck with anybody who lived in our hall for some reason. And the place is so shitty that our RA quit like the first day. Like he's like, I will pay,
money to not
off campus rent. I'll pay rent off campus, which like is like kind of $1,000 in Ann Arbor a month, to forego living in this shitty place, right? So we actually had no RA supervision on our floor the entire year.
Sweet.
Which was nice in terms of like getting away with being a little rowdy, but it was also like we still had to live there. So it was like we kind of endured living there. The only time it was good was on game day because it was the first like the big house is like a 30-minute walk away from like Central Campus, and it's like a big procession down to the big house on game day, and then Fletcher Hall is like kind of on the way, like sweet. Halfway there, right?
So you could either stop and grab stuff, put it back. Or
so yeah, basically like we would have homies like crash at our place after game day. Like no one wanted to walk all the way back to where they were at or what the deal was, right? So ended up having a great move in.
Man, I miss college. She's so lucky.
Wasn't that fun to reminisce for a hot sec?
Yeah.
Shout out
especially
to
your freshman.
I got one more.
Especially your freshman year though, because it's so
You got another moving story?
No, I got one more year.
Oh, one more year.
You got one more year.
Right, we're gonna talk about that.
Well, dude, it's just like it's such an intoxicating feeling being on campus for this first time independent.
Right.
And you just think there's a world of possibility in front of me. You know
one more thing before we move on from that. So like the second we moved in, like we were trying to like shoo our parents away so we could go like
have fun,
find our way, and have a good day. Because we were like, when we were moving in, we're driving past all these darties on Hill Street. Right?
You're like, I want to get.
And we're like, yo, this is about to go down, right? So, one of my
I'm good.
One of my friends' moms. One of my friends' mom is like,
it's like no.
All right, my roommate's mom from Jersey is like hysterical, right? Like crying and shit, and he's like, "Yo, like it's all good." Like, but by the way, it's a weekend, right? And move-in is on like a Thursday, and they're staying for the whole weekend. So it's not like we're saying bye to them at that very moment. It was like
for today.
It was like us saying like, "You guys go off and like." And it's funny because they ended up going to like our main bar. Like my dad was just asking a kid on the street, like, "Yo, what's the best bar here?" And they're like, "Oh, Scorekeepers," right? So they go straight there, which is like the best bar in Michigan.
Nice.
Which is where they ended up. But my one friend's mom was like absolutely hysterical that like she had to like drop him off, and because they were asking like, "Where are you guys going?" And I texted Oliver Ambrose and Joe Crowley, like Loyola boys of ours that were at Michigan, and I was like, "Yo, what's the deal?" Like I just
got here,
just moved in, and Oliver like sends me like straight to the Fiji house. He like sends us the address 707, and he's like, "Come through." And so Mike tells his mom we're going to fraternity, right? And she's like, "Oh my god!" Like she like crying even more. Like, I can't believe you guys are going straight to a fraternity already. Like my son is.
You boys study hard, please.
Yeah. It's like, oh, it was so funny just like to watch that happen.
Do you remember the feeling you had when you first walked in that house? That you're like, this is awesome. You're
dude,
like,
walking up to it is a fucking scene.
Yeah, because you're
like it's on a hill, perched up on a hill. Like the trees are in full bloom, right? And it's just like, damn, dude, it's literally an estate.
People are out having
That's
fun.
awesome.
Like your house,
Yeah.
your house too is just absolutely.
Yeah, I remember
It's
walking.
hard,
up my house.
actually. Okay, for Michigan reference, his house is at least twice as big as the Fiji house in Michigan,
Yeah, it's a crib.
and it's massive.
It's a beautiful home, dude. And I remember the first time I ever walked into it, you just see all these college kids living in this mansion, and you're like, they're all having so much fun, and they're independent, they're doing their own thing. And I
The
was
rooms
just
are like really nice too.
and the rooms are super nice. Everyone's just really outgoing too. You're like, you're hitting it off with these guys. You know what I mean? You're like, this is awesome. If this is the future of my college career, this, I
You're
mean,
like,
you know
I'm
what I
down.
mean? Like,
Sign me up. Like first day.
sign me up.
First
Like,
day it was like sign me up.
Yeah,
I ain't
totally.
fucking leaving.
Literally, that's how it felt.
I ain't leaving.
And it's funny because I need to bring this up because we went to go visit Bueno like what was that 2 months ago now
Oh,
for his
God.
for his
It's
graduation.
depressing it was that long.
For his
ago.
graduation, right? And it was like the first thing Finn and I done since
Graduation.
he didn't his girlfriend's graduation. Congratulations, Claire.
Congrats, Claire. Woo!
But
we were there for you.
he basically I text him, I'm like, yo dude, like we need to get out of LA, dude. It's everybody's so high strung, we can't leave. There's at one point it was illegal to be outside past like dark.
This was
you
like
know, when like riding was really bad.
this was on the tail end of the like peak Corona hysteria.
Yeah,
you
it was-
know,
it's
it was
still-
when things were
it's
starting
still
to
very
enter.
much- People are outside more now, but everybody's got a mask on. They're trying to be safe, but it was really high strung in LA at the time.
Plus, like
we wanted to get out
we
of
had
Dodge.
just been like our college like careers had just been nuked early. You know what I
Absolutely,
mean?
yeah.
It was like
Just
we never
getting
got
over
that-
the like
yeah.
devastation of not having a graduation or something
the
like
senior
that.
year,
We're
the
like,
rest
oh
of our
my god,
senior year.
UCSB's having a graduation. Let's go.
and our homie's still living there. Or
Yeah,
like,
so we shoot it up to Brandon's beach house, and of course, right as I walk up, the only other time I've ever been to Santa Barbara was visiting my older cousin Dre.
That was
when
crazy.
when I was a sophomore in high school, right? And he had this sick pad on Playa Vista, like cliff front. And I walk up and I'm like, damn, I see Bueno, like dab him up. I'm like, dude, it's cool to be here. Like, it's wild. Like the only time I've ever been here was at that house right there, that yellow one. And he's like, dude, that's my house. And I was like, no way, dude. I visited my cousin here, like for his graduation, like 6 years ago when I was a sophomore in high school. And he's like, I was like, yeah, he lived in like the lower left unit. And he's like, I live in the lower left unit. So the only 2 times I've ever been to Santa Barbara, I stayed in the exact same spot where my cousin and Bueno lived 6 years apart. So crazy small world.
That was so awesome.
I did not disappoint. That was such a fun weekend.
So that was just a great weekend to let loose. And then we came back to our sheltered homes. But so now we're going to move on. Bueno, as you were explaining earlier, you've been a prolific golfer for most of your life. And we want to ask kind of the origins of you playing golf. We know both your parents are really into it. And potentially like when you decided to commit to this sport, like, you know, as you have.
Yeah, so my mom and dad both picked up the game when they were in their 30s or whatnot, you know, as they were getting married and continuing. And then they, you know, caught the golf bug, as you want to call it, or got obsessed with it. And then I was the firstborn kid. And as soon as I could walk, they stuck a putter and a golf club in my hand. And that was, you know, it kind of felt, you know, and I rolled with it. And then they'd take me to the driving range when I was a little kid. And I'd behave and I'd hit balls and I'd start throwing shit.
Yeah,
and
throwing the
whatnot.
balls out. They're like, yo,
Right.
we pay for those.
You're like, no, that's not the game.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. You're like, oh, you're 2-3 years old. And
That's
I'm
how Brandon Posavac plays the game. You're
Yeah.
better than that, alright?
Slicing it 80 yards.
somewhat like behaving myself, putting the ball on the tee, keep hitting, keep going after. And my dad tells a funny story, where he'll go get balls, put a bucket down of balls, and you know have me start hitting. He'll turn away to stretch, and he'll come back, you know, 3 minutes later, and I'm sitting there like, do you have any more balls? You know, sort of thing.
You
But
would just stay whacking them, no
Or
practice.
chucking them or
Exactly.
doing whatever. Like.
whatever it was. But you know, I always loved it as a kid. Maybe it's just because there's balls and a stick, and as a kid we just you know hanging out. But
You figuring out your hand-eye coordination like with a golf club in hand, growing
Right,
up, right?
right. So
That's kind of contrary. Some people like throw catch or you know do other things, but you're kind of
absolutely. So I played in my first golf tournament when I was 5 years old.
Oh my God.
yeah.
The lakes at El Segundo,
That's so young.
which was cool.
Were you playing against other
I
5-year-olds?
was playing against 7-year-olds.
Beast.
And then I got older and bigger, and I kept playing it. But my parents, thank God to them, you know, put me in a bunch of other sports. I played football.
That's good.
I love football.
You're not very good at it though.
Yeah.
No.
Every year we
No.
have a little
Oh my
intramural
God.
game, and this
Okay.
kid is
We got to talk about the
trash.
Cub Holiday Bowl.
This kid's so
Absolutely.
We do
bad.
have a Cub.
Absolutely.
Okay, Bueno, talk your talk right now.
I'll
I'll let you talk right
so
now.
I played football as a little kid, and I played DB, cornerback,
Bueno Island.
Bueno Island.
You don't want to get
Shut
stuck on
Bueno
it.
Island. I was the best in the game
I can't believe we're giving you a
Until-
platform to say that.
until I, high school came, and I was 5'10", 125 pounds.
And you realize how much
And-
better the other kids were than
Well,
you?
yeah, and I ended up going late, so now I could play,
Yeah.
but, it is what
Bueno
it is.
talks that talk in our group text before the Cub Holiday Bowl. We always have one on Christmas and Thanksgiving, and he's like, "Don't get stuck on Bueno Island, Joe. You don't want me."
He talks all the
Hilarious.
talk, which makes it only better when he either.
I mean, to be
Gets
fair, he
picked
is
or-
on the winning team most years. So,
And then
Maybe.
Teddy Gallagher, friend of ours, he
Point him
actually
out.
he actually plays football
Yeah.
at Coastal Carolina.
I
Yeah.
think so.
He plays linebacker, and I think he led his team or his conference in tackles
Hey,
last
I
year
didn't know that.
or
That's
something.
Looks Teddy.
But he plays in it, and I call him out every year, and he freaking puts me on my back every year.
Yeah.
because he's like
Teddy's
massive.
good for at least one pancake every Cub
Every
Holiday
year.
Bowl.
Yeah.
Slash
and it's-
one
and
like
it's-
broken tendon in his hand.
Yeah, he actually really got hurt last time, right?
Absolutely.
That's
Don't come at Bueno Island.
Oh, because he was coming up Bueno Island.
It's a no-fly zone.
All right.
Absolutely.
So,
So you're playing
you played
football
your
and
first
stuff as a
tournament.
little kid.
So first tournament when I was 5, and then I played football, I played basketball, I played soccer. My sister, she was younger, but she played volleyball, and I loved all these sports.
Oh,
And
is she playing in college or?
she did rowing. She's doing rowing because
Okay.
the scandal at USC. I guess the rowing team was heavily involved in that, and so they had to vacate the entire team. And so she came in, and they basically sent an mass email saying, "Any freshmen want to try out for the rowing team?
Okay.
Let's do it." My sister
Yeah.
was like, "I'll stay fit, and I'll take."
That's a
the
good
perk-
idea.
Yeah,
I'll take
it's
the
really
perks
good.
of being
Do
an
they go
athlete.
down to the marina, or where do they
Yeah,
go?
so they go to Long Beach.
Wow, that's
like,
far.
multiple
Woof.
times a week at
Yeah.
like 4 a.m. And so we have, as a golfer, we have 6:30 a.m. workouts multiple times a week, and I hate waking up for those. So kudos to my sister. And
Yeah.
the only reason I do it is because I love golf. I love what I'm doing. I want to do it for the rest of my
Yeah,
life.
Andy has a plan for the future. We're
Exactly.
going to talk about that later.
But my sister's like doing it just to do it. So I'm like, wow, I would never get up that early for anything.
All right.
Yeah.
Other than
Good looks.
So we're going to move on to Loyola. We know Loyola is kind of a golf powerhouse. While we were there, we kind of went on a run, and you can explain the details of that because I'm sure you know very vividly.
We're gonna use the royal we on
Uh,
this because I feel like
We as in
Mink
Bueno,
and I
as in
deserve some credit for that.
Bueno and his
Though.
teammates, and Finn was on the diving team. I was on JV lacrosse for a couple years.
But without the diving team walks, so the golf team can run, basically.
Absolutely,
You know
absolutely. We all lift each other up.
what I mean?
But talk about that kind of run you guys went on at Loyola, and talk about maybe some of your favorite memories of your high school golf experience.
Absolutely. So they had won CIF Southern Section the 2 years before basically our 7th and 8th grade. So I get there as a freshman, and they've gone back to back winning CIF Southern Section, and I'm looking to make varsity as a freshman. I'm trying along with another good friend of mine, Quinn.
Shout out to Quinn McGinley.
Who ended up playing golf at Colgate for 4 years. And we're
You gotta have him on.
That's a chill dude.
we're trying to make varsity, and the rosters are posted, and him and I didn't make varsity. Instead, coach took, as a senior, you're not allowed to get put on a JV team. So Coach Gore, love him. He was, such an instrumental part of my development. But he took a couple guys that spent their 3 years, practiced a lot, put them on varsity, and rightfully so. And he basically came to Quinn and I, and he said, "You guys will play JV matches, and we'll move you up and play some varsity matches. But this is your place right now. We're a great team. We've won 2 in a row, and we're looking to win 3. And your time will come. Just keep working hard." So Quinn and I said, "All right, cool." Motivated us more. Freshman year, the guys went on and won again. A bunch of them graduated, and then Quinn and I, it was our turn to step up. Sophomore year, CIF Southern Section, I ended up shooting 70, which was...
Is that even there? Or
it was 2 under as
Nice.
a sophomore, and it was the low round of anybody in the tournament.
No way.
Way to go.
Got a kid?
Wait, no, I remember hearing that actually.
So that was cool. It was actually, there was an LA Times article about it and whatnot.
What?
But we win Southern Section, but the job's not really done. So now we've won 4 years in a row. And that's cool, and you get a ring for that and all that stuff, but the t-shirt. But there's, more things. There's Southern California, and then there's state. And we had our eyes set on state because, we'd won Southern Section multiple years in a row. And
who are the competitive schools in the Southern Section that we should know?
Harvard Westlake was pretty good.
That's just not a surprise at all.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
that's on brand
They're
for them.
pretty good.
Never
at
beat
most
us
all things
in all
sports.
4 years. Didn't lose a match to Harvard Westlake.
Oh, talk
Yo.
that talk.
Cheers.
Well, cheers to that.
Southern Section, Modern Day. Modern Day was good.
Mm-hmm.
And they would always, so the first and second place at Southern Section would move on to SoCal's, Southern
Mhm.
California. And then sophomore year, when I had shot that 70, we lost at SoCal. At Mission Lakes, it was at Mission Lakes, which is a super windy. If you go to Palm Springs, it's on the other side of the 10 freeway, which is Desert Hot Springs, and it's up in the mountains, and
Okay.
where all the windmills are, and it's always blowing 30 or 40. It's up in the hills. It's a complete shit show.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And we were not prepared for it,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't make it through to state, and we were pissed about it. Coach was pissed about it, rightfully so. And he gave a great speech, and he goes, he's pissed. And he goes, guys, you got to keep this feeling for next year, right? We've won Southern Section. I don't want to say that's routine. That's a great accomplishment, but, you're good enough to win. You should have won. You did win, and it's the next step. We're not settling for that. And this feeling right here sucks. And keep this in mind when because we're going to be here again next year. We're going to win Southern Section again. We're returning everybody. And that feeling really did stick with all of us. So next year,
So you guys returning everybody. That's a young team.
right? It was cool.
So would you consider you and Q leaders on the team at that point as juniors?
We were sophomores that year, and then Bryant Falconello is a year older than us. He went on to play golf at Air Force Academy. Quiet guy, but he was very really smart kid and really dedicated to. You can tell sometimes the kids don't say much are the ones you gotta emulate, and because they're really focused on what they're doing. They're not here to talk trash, talk shit, say a lot, because all of their energy is focused on one thing. So next year, my junior year, Bryant's a senior, Quinn and I are juniors. We win Southern Section, and then we get third in Southern California's, which was good enough to qualify for state. The top 3 in Southern California, the top 3 in Northern California go to state. And we go to the state championships.
Is it at like a neutral site, or does either NorCal or SoCal host?
Switches every year. And that was a NorCal site, which was actually really cool because it was at Poppy Hills Golf Course in Monterey, California.
Oh, sweet.
So that was a sweet trip we took.
How close to Pebble Beach is that?
It's on the same property.
So it's right next to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Sweet.
We warmed up at the Pebble Beach driving range, and then drove to
That's dope.
3 minutes down the road to Poppy Hills. And we got third there, and it was the 3 Southern California teams got first, second, third, and the 3 Northern California teams got 4th, 5th, and 6th. And we didn't play our best, but it was nice to know third in the state. It was awesome.
Yeah, you're in striking range.
It was
to
the
make
farthest.
a move.
It was the farthest the team had ever gone. Although we had gone 5 in a row at that point. Southern Section championships. And then senior year was a bit of a disappointment. We won Southern Section again, but we got 4th at state, and so we didn't, or 4th at Southern California's. So we didn't
You
qualify.
missed the top 3.
Right. So we didn't qualify for state, and that was kind of a salty taste in all of our mouths. But my experience playing golf for Loyola was incredible. Coach Gore was an amazing leader. Coach Schmidt was an amazing character.
Schmidt.
The man, yeah.
He's a good dude.
He was he kept it very real. You know,
Is he a good golfer?
He wasn't that good. He was more learning to play, but he understood the intellectual side of it, and he understood.
I'm sure he'd be a good mental coach.
Right. So he was
a fantastic English teacher. For who doesn't know, he was the head of the English department, and I took his AP class junior year, and he was one of my favorite teachers in high school for sure.
So the weird thing about, you know, when you're in school is, you know, it's students and teachers, and there's this hierarchy and whatnot. And Coach Schmidt had an incredible knack to relate or whatnot, and get rid of the gap and kind of almost talk to us at, you know, on a man-to-man level. It's like, you know, this is how we got to play, this is how we got to act, and this is, you know, conduct ourselves. And then because of that, it created a much more comfortable environment.
It's also worth noting that he grew up as like kind of a co-editor for Thrasher magazine. That's kind of like how he grew his taste for English and writing. So he kind of is, and he skates. He still does. So that's like
gnarly skater.
He's a really, really good skater. He's got videos on YouTube. So it's worth noting that he's kind of about it in talking about him being able to relate to kids in high school.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now that we kind of talked about the experience through and through, we wanted to ask you what the recruiting process is like as a somewhat noteworthy prospect, having put yourself on the map. Was that freshman year when you shot the 70 or sophomore year? Put yourself on the newspaper. You know, who was looking at you? What was it like? What's the recruiting process like as a somewhat you know, successful golfer in high school?
It was really interesting. So like any high school player that wants to play in college and is really passionate about what they're doing, it's stressful, and you can't talk to you know, the rules back then, I don't know if they've changed, but you can't talk or communicate to a coach until September 1st of your junior year. But up until then, you can kind of, you know, say hi, send them an email, and all they can send back is some generic response or whatnot. And so you kind of do that, but, you know, it was always a struggle or a tug and pull of, all right, I've played a couple good tournaments. I put up some good scores. Now I'm going to email a guy, hey, this is, you know, or a coach, and hey, these are the last recent scores I've just played. Or if, you know, played in a couple tournaments and you didn't shoot so hot, you're kind of waiting until you catch fire, you play well again.
Have something to write about.
To reach out, exactly.
Does it always have to do with recency bias? Like if you are posting scores that are sporadically throughout the calendar, is that something that raises red flags, or does there have to be consistency in terms of
consistency time? Is much better. So consistency and a pattern of progression, right? They're looking for guys that are peaking, that are getting better consistently. And, you know, that was what did it for me. I didn't have anything until midway through I didn't set myself apart or do anything special until midway through my junior year, so basically January, and that calendar year, so the second half of my junior year and the first, you know, part of my senior year.
Would that be considered your season, your golf season?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Or did it have to do with tournaments you were playing outside of the season?
So school tournaments, I guess you could equate it to like soccer or something like that. How you play on your school team is, you know, great and all that, but it's really your club team and how you play in club and what club
where coaches interact the most.
Where coaches are looking. And so it's the same thing in golf where, you know, okay, your 9-hole high school matches, you know, you played well and you played well in CIF and stuff. They're not really, you know, that's cool. That's an additional, that's a bonus. But what they really are looking at are AJGA, American Junior Golf Association, Toyota Tour Cups. And, you know, these are basically established tours for junior golfers.
With rankings.
With rankings, exactly. So I was ranked in Junior Golf Scoreboard. I think my best ranking was 120 or something like that, which is, you know, across
the country?
Across, I think it's the world.
Wow.
Or something like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the world of junior golfers under 18.
That's pretty sick.
That's pretty good.
That was fun. That was cool. And it was all due to my, you know, the second half of my junior year and the start of my senior year. I played in 8 Toyota Tour Cup event, or 9 Toyota Tour Cup events, and I believe I shot in the 60s in 6 out of 9 final rounds.
Damn, that's clutch.
So that was
There you go.
the consistency kind of looking for, and the fact that it was on, the final rounds instead of the first rounds was
So that's when people started to really give
They're
you
like
looks.
applying pressure, and you're consistently shooting well. On
absolutely. So that's when I reached out to a bunch of coaches again, and I started getting a lot of feedback. And
So it sounds like you do a lot of the initiating in golf.
You
Is
do.
that common, or I feel like in a lot of other sports it's typical that the coach reaches out to you.
So it's like anything, in life. If you put an idea in someone's head, right, you gotta be aggressive about it.
Marketing yourself.
You don't want to be overbearing. And the key for me, I think, I didn't email as much as I would actually pick up the phone and call a coach.
Yeah.
I'd call him and say, "Hi, coach. I'm Brandon Bueno, junior golfer at Loyola High School out of Los Angeles, and I would love to, be a part of your team, and you talk to them, and for a coach, they get a lot of parents,
Sure.
moms, dads, emailing, calling.
On
and all
behalf
that
of their
stuff.
kid, yeah.
Exactly, and trying to advocate, and what parent doesn't want to say, "Oh, my kid's the best, my kid's awesome."
Yeah, and I'm sure
Right.
all you hear is like.
Is that the equivalent of an AAU dad? Like parents emailing?
Absolutely,
coaches?
and that's everywhere, and it's super apparent among junior golf.
Talk
too.
about this. What are golf parents like? Is that like a weird thing? Are a lot of golf parents like super demanding of their kids on the course? Because I know with a lot of I played club soccer for a while, and it seems like a lot of the times you'd have parents screaming louder than the coach on the sideline.
Absolutely.
To the point where their poor kid was just like, "Dad, shut up! I'm playing. I know how to play this game." You know what I mean? And it's just being super hard on their kids. So what was that dynamic like?
So I know a lot of kids that end up, quitting or not wanting to go through that were really good kids. And in Toyota Tour Cups and in these leagues, Toyota Tour Cup, AJGAs, on these tours, there are no caddies, aka your parents can't caddy for you. You're carrying your own bag, and the spectators, basically your parents, because nobody else is really watching junior,
Hopefully,
16, 17-year-olds play golf,
Sus.
are walking, it's strict rules. Sometimes there are ropes up, but normally you're walking in the rough. You're not supposed to be within 15 feet of the greens and whatnot. You're not supposed to communicate to the spectators if you're a player, aka your parents or family, with the exception of food or drink. Hey, if your mom wants to get you a drink,
Yeah,
that's okay.
with my juice box.
Right,
Just be
or
like,
something
"Can I
like
get
that.
some
Can I,
water?"
hey, can you get me a sandwich? Just, that's okay. But a lot of parents, including my own, at a certain point, if you're playing bad, if the kid's playing bad, you can't help but try to say something. So
Right.
I've seen a lot of kids get penalties.
So it's not penalized. It is penalized for parents to talk to you.
If parents are not allowed to talk to you
Okay.
about golf, any advice, or because a parent could walk.
Yeah, it's coaching.
Yeah, or a parent could walk a hole ahead, see, the green, how a bunch of kids missed the putt. You could have the same putt, and they'll come up to you and, "Hey, the kid in front of you missed it,
All right, go here, yeah.
right,
Okay.
Or the putt breaks this much, a lot of things like
I
that."
didn't think parents would go into that detail. I was talking more in terms of saying keep your head down, or something that's just kind of a
Happens a lot.
platitude.
Dude,
in golf.
a lot of these sports though, the parents are more competitive than the kids. You know what I mean?
They're
It's
they're
they
definitely
want their
living
kids to
vicariously through their kids.
They want their kids to be the best so bad
Yeah.
that they'll
So there was this kid. Here's a crazy story. Is in one of the Toyota Tour Cups, I think it was a championship. This kid was, I think he was Thai, and him and his parents spoke a certain dialect that was relatively rare. And again, this is what I understood of the situation.
So did he fly here for this tournament, or?
Well, they live here for the
Does he live
summers and whatnot, and they go back, and because this is where the most exposure is.
So no one
mostly
could translate what they were saying?
Right. So they spoke a dialect that they were pretty confident nobody else that was there on the golf course that was playing or whatever spoke.
Let me guess, someone spoke it.
So someone, and the same group, same kid, his mom ended up understanding it. And so what him and his dad had was he had his balls marked a certain way. You always mark your balls so you can distinguish whose ball is whose, and you can find yours, and so nobody hits your ball. He had all his balls marked a certain way. His dad had all of his balls marked the exact same way and had them in a backpack.
Oh.
So if his kid, and his dad would always be up ahead in the fairway, and if his kid would miss the fairway, his dad would go searching for it.
Throwing out.
And if dad can't find it, boom. But before every tee shot, they would...
No way.
The kid would say, hey, I'm playing a 1.
What a damn cheater.
Or I'm playing an 8 this hole. Because the number, you switch the numbers,
God,
ever
that's
so
despicable.
often. So another kid's mom kind of overheard it, watched the dad drop a ball, and the kid was disqualified for the tournament and kicked off the tour and not allowed to play anymore.
Good, dude.
But
That's
shit like that
cheating.
happens
The
all the
exact
time.
same thing happened to Chooch in a tournament. He
No.
lost. He got second place to this kid at a tournament that was played. I don't know if it's the same circuits that you're talking about. I doubt it. It's like a city tournament. But they were playing it at Balboa, and Chooch was like 4 under in second place. And he's kind of like not the kind of guy to like rat on someone in a tournament like that. But he's like, yeah, dude, like this guy was like kicking his ball to give himself like better lies if he's in the rough or something, because like it's a municipal golf course, so you could find yourself like on a tree root or something and like be really screwed. But like,
dude,
Bro, you hit the ball there.
given the
it's the
given the
Hit the
limited
fairway, you won't get a shitty
given the
lie.
limited like scope of like people watching,
that's what makes the game
like
hard.
he's like, dude, I swear I saw this guy kick his ball like 4 or 5 times. So he goes up and like tells the
judge,
he tells like whoever's in charge of the tournament, like because the guy won and they did a big like hoopla on 18th hole for him. Like he comes up to him politely afterwards. He's like, yo, like I don't know what the deal is, but like I saw that guy kick his ball around like all day long, and I don't think they ended up doing anything about it.
Too late at that point.
Yeah. So he's just like I don't even know how I would have handled the situation, being like the hardo that's calling him out on it, or maybe just asking him directly.
I would have ratted, bro. I would have. That's not being a hardo. That's like being like, hey, you're cheating. I'm
I
competing
don't know.
against you.
I can't blame him for not doing it because I don't think I would.
It's very respectable that he didn't, but if you're playing a game and someone's cheating against you, it's like, I'm not here to play your version of this game.
The
I'm
hard
here to play
part
a game.
too is
Like,
that happens. I've seen it before, right? I've seen a kid blatantly cheat, but I'm like, dude, this kid is like having a shitty
Shit
round.
day, yeah.
Like,
right.
but that's not.
It's not
I'm
gonna
not. I don't
matter,
feel
yeah.
pity for him, but I'm
it does nothing
5
for you to do.
right. I'm 5-6 strokes ahead of him, but that's not the way I should think, because there are kids that are
Doing worse than
maybe
him,
tied
yeah.
with him or worse than him, and that should make a
It
difference.
affects
Let me
them.
ask you this
It
though:
affects them.
if you're tied with this guy, and he's just kicking the ball
He's
around,
cheating. He's fucking
are you
cheating.
about to go be like, hey,
Absolutely.
this month? Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely.
Like Brooks Koepka
done
was
it
saying
before.
that
Totally.
Patrick Reed was building sandcastles in the bunker one night, right? That's one of his famous quotes.
That was
building
a good one.
sandcastles. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
because he saw him ground his club a bunch of times
Totally.
and not get called on it. Okay, so you are emailing these coaches because your parents, are they? You can admit, are they more the A1 type where they're doing some emailing too, or are you saying that's your strategy where you call them out of the blue?
My parents were very adamant on the fact that
You do it.
I do
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
Like they,
That's good.
that was kind of.
Yeah, it's
That's
good
good.
stuff.
I think I want to say they trusted me enough where hey, I'm not going to screw it up. Talking to a coach or whatnot,
Mhm.
and then the plan of calling one instead of sending emails, right, makes a difference if they hear your voice and
Right.
you call them.
Yeah.
Right. It's like
Personal.
it's like
Right.
calling a girl to go on a date with you instead of texting a girl
Totally.
or snapping a girl, right?
Asking
Exactly.
her in person, it's
Exactly.
it shows
The
a
extra
level.
touch.
It shows a level of confidence. You know what I mean?
Maturity,
Especially-
all
yeah.
the things.
Absolutely.
So that's my advice to a lot of kids. If you're looking at this or whatnot, do a lot of the introduction yourself. Handle it yourself. You want to look like an independent person.
This
because,
is huge.
because the kids, the coaches look at it. They know exactly the kids who were sheltered and their parents did a lot for them, and they come to college and you're
No one-
alone.
no one's
You're
caring
doing your
for
own shit.
them, yeah.
They've seen it fall apart 100 times, and they've seen the kids that
Right.
get their, can handle it.
That's a great point. That is such a great
That's good
point.
advice,
Because you
dude.
see it, not even in sports, kids
Yeah.
that just are too sheltered and fall apart in college.
So maybe break down some of the schools that you are looking for. Like maybe break down kind of your list of schools in priority, and maybe just how you ended up nurturing your relationship with the UCSB coach.
So throughout the second semester of my junior year, I was in talks with LMU, UCSB, UCSD, San Diego, Northwestern, and Washington. And
UW?
UW,
Okay.
exactly. And it was, some schools offered more money, some schools offered less money. UC San Diego offered the most amount of money. And I went on a visit to San Diego first.
Mm-hmm.
What
do you think?
Talk to the
campus
coach.
is a bunch of wood chips and trees. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
And geometrical buildings that are like
Really,
Have you seen their library?
yeah, really interesting libraries.
Their library is like a double pyramid.
It's
crazy,
just,
dude.
it's just
Like,
I didn't really catch the vibe when I visited UCSD.
I agree.
Is that what you're leading
so
on to?
when I went to UCSD, the coach there was an ex-coach from University of Oklahoma who had won multiple national championships.
Mm.
yeah, they're really good. Not as good as Bama, but pretty good.
Right.
Well said.
So that was an appeal, and the coach was very charismatic, and he was really nice, and he seemed super knowledgeable. And as a kid, or as a golfer, you're thinking UC San Diego, you're thinking San Diego, you're thinking Torrey Pines Golf Course. The campus is
Across the street.
across the street from Torrey Pines Golf Course.
It is.
So I go, I'm on the, the
Can I
trip.
ask, how did this guy end up at UCSD?
I think he said his wife and family.
That's a
wanted
sweet
move
spot to
San
settle down,
Diego.
dude. San Diego.
It's a
Exactly.
sweet spot to settle down, but if
Settle
if
up
you're
there.
winning natties
Imagine,
every year,
imagine you're a golf guy and you can post up
move
at
to
Torrey
golf
Pines
heaven?
and move your family to California and San Diego, dude. That's a sweet gig.
Who knows? So that was his. Maybe he got fired at Oklahoma. Nobody knows. I don't know, at least. So I'm waiting. He's walking me through the tour of the campus, and I'm waiting to hear like where we're gonna play, where we're gonna practice. What's workouts. What's the schedule? And then we sit down at a coffee shop on campus, and he goes, well, so this is my first year here. The previous coach burnt all the bridges with the local golf courses, so we won't be able to practice at or play at Torrey Pines, and where I'm hoping that I can amend that relationship, and the closest
how
place
do
we can
how do you burn that bridge?
I don't know. Maybe he was an asshole.
Was there any hearsay about how that happened?
I didn't inquire more.
Have you ever heard of stuff happening like that to other people? And like,
Absolutely. I mean, golf is a bunch of. There's a lot of wealth in golf, a lot of money, and a
Sure.
lot of egos.
Mhm.
And so, when there's a lot of egos involved, people's egos get struck very
Yeah,
easily, and they
sure.
might say things that they regret. That's kind of, he didn't elaborate on it, but the gist was, can't play at Torrey Pines. I was like, shit.
Mhm.
And
well,
then
that
he
was
goes,
half of it.
Right, I was like, that was pretty much it. And then he goes, well, the
Vibe-
closest place we
vibe
can
killer.
play is, Carlton Oaks, which I played in the past, which isn't bad, but it's, 30 minutes away.
and
and
not
there's-
Torrey Pines.
And it's not, it's not along the water. It's not close to campus. Can't, walk across the street and go hit balls whenever I want and practice and get better. So, and then I went to UCSB a couple weeks later. Coach Lass was really cool, and he does the same tour to every player, and it's you meet him at the visitor center, then he takes you to his office in the athletic building. You talk there for like 15-20 minutes, and then he takes you down to the gym at the exact time where the girls' soccer team is working out. Every time. And
He gets
walks-
you.
He gets you, and he walks you
So
in.
this is UCSB.
Welcome to
yeah.
the trainers, and you're sitting there going, "Holy shit!" And then you walk into the training room. You meet the trainers, and there's a bunch of other cool people sitting there, and you're like, "This is awesome." And then he's like,
Go shows.
So this is where we work out, and this is our facilities. And I was like, "Okay, this is sweet." And he was like, you want to see the rest of the campus, or you want to go, see Sandpiper? And I was like, I don't care to see the rest of the campus.
Is that the course you guys
I'm
play?
good, right? So Sandpiper is our home course, which is about 2 miles down the ocean. If you don't know anything about UC Santa Barbara, it is on the ocean.
Very nice.
Yeah, let me
Cliff.
explain something real quick.
Yeah.
Dude, so we
Break down
go to
the-
visit Valino's place, and we pull up to a street called Del Playa,
Yep.
DP, right? And
DP.
this is where it is a phenomenon.
It's a college paradise.
The market shouldn't allow this to occur, but
Mhm.
it does. A bunch of college kids live on the beach, dude,
Mhm.
in the most gorgeous place on the planet.
Yeah. They occupy like
and I
probably,
mean on the beach. It is a gorgeous beachside.
it's probably like 3 or 4 miles of real estate. Strictly college kids on both sides of the street.
Just basically living in beach houses, and
Mhm.
it's pretty epic. Sorry, I had
It's-
to lay that out.
It sets its own,
it's
bro.
So cool.
It's just unbelievable.
Mink and I like kept looking at each other. We had great college experiences.
Yeah,
You know, big state school.
we're
kinda
like, what
cool
did
stuff.
we do, bro?
And it's the only school that's ever made both of us second guess, like where we went to
decision.
school. You
Yeah,
know,
it's just
it's awesome.
You gotta
So
get
you're at
set up.
Sandpiper.
So we go to Sandpiper and we walk around, and you know it's like Pebble. It's a poor man's Pebble Beach, basically. It's on the ocean, on the cliffs. Great weather all year round. And in the back of my head, I was like, because this was in November.
Yeah.
And it's raining and freezing
Windy.
in Washington, and it's snowing in
Chicago.
Northwestern, right? And I'm sitting here. It's 60 degrees. I got a sweater on, and
Could wear shorts if you
there's
wanted to.
there's a sweet sunset right in front of me. This course is awesome. And he was like, all right, so now I'm going to hand you off to one of the guys on the team. He was a freshman at the time. His name was Nick Swanson, 1 year older than me. And he's going to take you, and you're basically just going to live with him for the next 2 days. He's going to take you to his room, his dorm. And
This guy's
Place
this
to
guy's
stay.
a clever guy. Like,
He's got it down.
He
pat.
knows how to recruit.
So
What's the conversion rate on this visit, bro? It has to be so high.
High, so high.
Oh, I bet. I bet.
It worked on you.
It was immediate. It was an immediate, dude. Facilities, obviously, you walk into the gym, and then you go to the golf course, and you go, I get to do this for 4 years. I get to play golf on the ocean for free for
I'm
4
sure your
years,
next
all
2
year
days
round.
weren't too shabby either.
And then, Nick picks me up. We go to the dining commons. And, you look at the dining commons, pretty cool. As a junior in high school, you're like, wow, this is awesome. There's a bunch of cute
There's so
girls.
much
There's a
food,
bunch
yeah.
of dudes. There's a bunch of food, right? Unlimited food. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that was a crazy concept as a high school kid.
Right?
You're like, I can eat as
As
much as I want.
You guys want to cut me off?
You're like, what? Yeah.
Yeah, so that was awesome. And the whole team, we all went to the dining, all sat at the same, put a bunch of tables together. It was really fun. Went back to the dorm, showered, whatever, and then went out because, did the visit on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, as Coach smartly planned out. And,
Oh, nice little weekend trip.
right,
Who'da thought
exactly.
it? Yeah,
And,
that's
I
nice.
had went to the
It's
golf
too bad
house
weekends
in
in
Isla
Santa Barbara
Vista.
suck.
Yeah, they're so bad.
So not fun.
Ugh. And I ended up getting back to the dorm room 3 a.m. waking up, going back to the dining commons for the breakfast. Is really good. That's the best part of the
Really?
dining commons at UCSB.
Hit me with it. What do we got?
It's fire hash browns.
Damn.
Eggs were
Yeah.
fine.
At Michigan, they had a dope breakfast sandwich station where they would you could pick it
Yo.
up. I wanted it on a croissant.
No.
I wanted it on different types
No,
of bun,
that's
and I
so
get
good.
Bacon, sausage, eggs.
Alabama's
cheese.
food was garbage.
Yeah.
Garbage.
Talk
bro.
about Fried Friday for a second.
Oh, Fried Friday's not garbage.
Dude,
So-
it was garbage, bro.
Dude, that hurt. That really hurt you said that. Okay. So,
certain people's
did you
Fried
go to
Friday.
sorority?
I went to Tommy's, but it was
Tommy's fraternity. That's a fraternity.
Yeah.
Dude, fraternities have trash fried fried. So basically, if you're in Greek life, you don't need to buy into the university meal plan because your fraternity has food and stuff like that.
Mhm.
The sororities, so every Friday there's this thing called Fried Friday. And everyone goes out Thursday, so it's really nice to get, fried food the next morning. And it's just grits, fried chicken, chicken wings, mashed potatoes, mac and cheese, fried okra, which is
Every Friday, dude.
it's fried stuff. Fried Oreos if you're good.
That can get away from you quick if you're eating that kind of shit every
It does
Friday.
get away from people quick. But the university food at Alabama is disgusting.
Mm.
Literally all there is to eat is pizza that is edible. So you just it's so gross. It's gnarly. So what do we got for breakfast?
So
Hash
the hash browns were the best part. You just devour potatoes for days, and then pancakes. The eggs were fine. Standard scrambled eggs. Chocolate milk,
Mm-hmm.
gas.
Dude, I remember being so stoked that there was as much chocolate milk as you wanted.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Everybody gets so into chocolate milk
Yeah,
freshman year.
dang.
That's where the freshman 15 lives in Michigan, the chocolate milk stand.
Dude, especially because there's some hearty chocolate milks that are more like milkshakes than chocolate milk.
It's whole
like,
milk. It's
yeah,
whole chocolate
exactly.
milk. In the Midwest, they serve whole milk.
Nah, that's like chocolate half and half, bro. Like, it is thick.
Like my buddy would have a whole glass of whole regular milk and a glass of whole chocolate milk every morning.
That's so
And it was just
gross.
like, woo, man.
That's pretty bad. All right, so you wake up the next morning, you're in the dining hall. You're mugging.
It's brunch, so it's open from, I think it opens at 11 and then it goes to 2, and everybody's there. You know, most kids are hungover and, you know, looking like shit, but it's fun. And then we're like, all right, let's go play 18 holes at Sandpiper on the beach.
And that was your first time playing it?
Yeah.
So
no, that
fun.
wasn't my first time playing it, but
Were you nervous? Were you like, dude, what if I just have my worst...
Because you're still on your visit?
I'm still on my
You're
visit.
like, what if I
right?
just have my worst round ever
Yeah.
and I'm in front?
Have you ever seen someone go like super low the first time they play? Like that would be so sick.
Yeah, that was I think I played with Zach Smith. Right now he's killing it playing pro golf. He just won the Arizona, the Scottsdale Open.
No way.
He beat Joel Damon, who's
I know he did. He was on subpar.
He was on the PGA Tour, and I think he got top 10 in the PGA Championship.
Yeah, he did. He played really well.
But Zach shot, I think, 67. When we went out and played, and I was like, that's a round of golf out there at Sandpiper when it's cold and windy. But it was still amazing, and it was fun. And we do the same thing: go back, eat dinner, and go out again. And I wake up in the morning, Sunday morning. My mom comes to pick me up, and I'm like,
this is it.
This is where I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm not leaving. I don't want to go back to high school.
Don't take me back.
Going back to high school after you go on your visit is probably so depressing.
Don't forget, you have your AP test coming up. You're like,
Right.
nah, I don't. This is it. Leave me here. I'll fend for myself.
And that was your junior year?
That was the So that was my junior year. So I committed.
Did you visit UCSB at all throughout your senior year before you ended up going there? Or?
I went up a couple times to play tournaments around the area strategically, just so I could, hey coach, come out and watch me, just to continue to develop some sort of rapport with the coach before I went into school.
That's cool.
So it was a great process. I got, I was blessed that I was able to, coach gave me a chance and that he, committed to me, and everybody ends up where they're destined to be, and that was it for me. That was, you end up where you should be, and beach kid, beach town, golf, and then not to mention the
it
fact
totally fits you, bro. It's like
Absolutely.
the perfect fit for Bueno to go to UCSB.
Dude, it is the perfect.
And especially once we got so many years later, got to go visit you a couple months ago, like your spot was just perfect. Like I couldn't imagine any other spot for you to go to school where you would have fit it more.
Totally.
All right, so I just have to talk about
Briefly.
this hilarious story. So it was like midway through sophomore or junior year of college, I can't remember, and I was in the library about to start a brutal session during midterms, right? And Finn will be cued in on what I'm talking about in a second, right? And everybody like just starts on their phone for a sec. I was scrolling through Instagram, just trying to trying to procrastinate even more when you're sitting in the library. And I see this video on TFM, and I think it's hilarious. This kid gets super pissed at his computer when it's frozen in the library and snaps it over his leg. Like, absolutely snaps it and then throws it on the ground.
Dude,
and then runs out of the library.
I don't think you snapped it over your leg. You banged it on the desk first, didn't you?
and then snapped it.
You were like bang, bang, and this is a desk with it's
a big
table, right?
There's a bunch of people at the table.
And you just hear this kid, and he's like, "Oh fuck!" It just starts digging, and then
Just
picks it up,
absolute rage,
and just starts
in the middle of midterms, and it was like exactly how I felt, right? Like it just perfectly matched my mood, right? And I'm like, damn. I took a second watch on the video. I'm like, that looks so much like my friend Bueno. Like, what the hell? And sure enough, I checked the comments. He had been tagged like 10 times already at Bueno can't putt. I don't. Is that still it?
It's not it. I lost a bet, so it's not my handle anymore.
He's not okay. It was at Bueno can't putt on Instagram at the time. You can talk about what your real Instagram is a little later, but
if you care to.
please share the story of where you cultivated this hilarious video and what ended up happening with it afterwards.
So, I go back. This is sophomore year, and it was
Sophomore year.
spring finals. Actually, it wasn't midterms.
Oh, finals. Okay.
It was finals in May, June area. And I had gone back a couple months earlier for spring break my mom was like, hey, you need to clean out your closet. I was like, all right. So I clean out my closet and I find my old computer from like 7th grade to freshman year of high school. Mm-hmm. And it like had completely burnt out.
Yeah.
I had too much stuff on it.
It was completely broken.
Right. So it didn't work. It did not function, but the computer was still intact. It was just internal. It didn't work at all. And I go to my mom and I was like, hey, are you still going to try to, because I remember one time she had like some files on there that she wanted to, maybe try to get back or save. And I was like, hey, do you still want to, you still want this thing or do I get rid of it? It's been sitting in my closet for years. And she was like, nah, screw it. And I had this thought and I was like, maybe I'll just take it back. And, everybody's wanted to like smash their laptop or chuck their phone or,
let's
punch
be real.
the TV.
It's fun to break stuff.
Right?
Ignorant with devices.
So, I live,
do the things your parents told you couldn't. Like,
there's part, and I'm like, dude, I'm going to take this back and pretend like I'm at a party. I pretend I'm like doing homework and I'm just going to chuck it at a wall or something. And I'm like, I'm going to do something stupid with this. Right. And I take it back to school with me. Spring quarter starts. We're on the quarter system at UC Santa Barbara. Mm-hmm. And I throw it in the back of my closet, and I forget about it. And finals week comes around, and I was looking for some piece of
textbook that you're going to start reading.
No, I didn't buy textbooks. Some piece of clothes or some shit, and I'm digging in the back of my closet. And I find this thing, and I go, man, I forgot about this. I pull it out, and kids I'm living with, I was like, hey, what should we do with this? Like, do I throw this away? Some kid goes, dude, it's finals week. Go to the library and just, like, pretend like you have a meltdown or a panic attack or something. So we go, it's a great idea. So this was Sunday. So fast forward, so we were like, all right, let's start planning this. We're going to do it Tuesday night. Davidson Library at UCSB packed during finals week. All right,
absolutely packed.
Can't find a seat.
You can't find a seat.
No empty seats.
Nowhere. 4th floor of the library is where
the quiet zone.
Is it the same thing where you get more quiet as you go up?
Right.
That's how it is in Michigan.
4th floor there were 8 floors to this library. The 4th floor was the last floor before it became the quiet floors. The quiet floor started at 5. So and there was this big kind of open area and bookshelves, and this is where all the Greek life kids and a lot of kids that
there's a lot of chatter going on.
Right, a lot of chatter, everybody kind of knows each other, sort of deal. If you want to
social studying, probably
social studying, exactly. So a lot of people, I don't want to go to the 4th floor, can't focus there, or I'll see someone I know, or something like that. Yeah. So I'm like, we're gonna fucking go in the heart of the 4th floor. We're gonna get a table right in the middle, and we go because it's packed. So we go at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday and then we walk around and wait for a table to open up, the one we want, for like an hour and a half. We finally get it, and
love how you're doing all of this instead of studying.
Right, exactly. And that's the best part of the story is this took up like 3 days of finals week that we didn't do jack shit of studying for. We're in the library, we got computers up, but we're not studying at all. And we're so we're there at 2. We're planning on doing this at like 7 when it gets dark and more people are in there, the whole thing. And we've got 4 camera angles. My friend Harry Jenkins, who his was the actual video, if you find it. And he's got it, he's in like a little cubby off to the side.
Did I get the account right? Was it TFM or was
it? Yeah, TFM was the first to post it.
Okay.
Do you have the video saved?
I do have the video saved.
Yeah, please send
it's
that
actually
to us.
on
We're
my
gonna intro
Instagram
this
too.
thing with
It's
this
on
video.
his Instagram. That's good.
Can we intro this video with that video?
Oh, that would be so sick. We'll do that.
Let's do it. So Harry's video is the one you guys will actually see, and he's like sitting in a cubby, and for like a whole 15 minutes, because I'm warming up the crowd, right? And
Dude,
for a whole 15 minutes, I'm getting up, I'm like pacing around the library, everybody kind of starts looking at this kid's tweaking, right? And
they're like, bro, what does this kid's deal?
My friend Jack is sitting at the table across from me, and he does a great job acting too, and we're sitting there, and he's like, come on, dude, relax, and we keep trying to, he's like trying to explain something to me or whatnot. And
How long are you guys interacting?
About 15 minutes. So
What?
it's 15
I love
minutes,
how much
like,
you bought into
Yeah.
that.
Absolutely. If you're gonna do something, you gotta. It's full
Build
bore.
it up.
Absolutely.
100%.
Like, people were on notice that something
People
big
were
was-
looking around.
They're like,
People
this
were
kid's
looking
having a bad
around.
day. Like,
Yeah.
We need an audience for this, right? We need a reaction. And so finally, I'm sitting there. I start hitting the enter button, right? Of course, my computer. So I originally had my actual computer, and then I kind of switched it out for the other one. And I start hitting the enter button, and I start smashing it, and I'm going, dude, what the fuck, and like my computer's not turning on, and I'm just, losing it, and I start hitting it, and I look up, and I go, fuck. I smack the computer on the table, and Jack does a great job of going, right, what the fuck is going on? Smack the computer on the table, take it, put it over my leg, boom, throw it, and say, I'm done with this shit. I'm not showing up for the final. I grab my backpack and I take off. Right? I really wanted to throw the backpack at like the laptop at like the bookcase and like fling it, but there were some, there were
people next to
you
them.
don't
there
want
were
to catch a
kids.
game.
I didn't want.
You didn't want to
need
get in actual trouble for this thing.
Exactly. So I just, on the floor, I'm out of there. Dead silence. Everybody's looking because I yelled. And
Bueno projects pretty loud. If you
so
don't know.
my friend Jack is right on the other side of the table, and he's kind of, sitting there acting like,
Sheepish, yeah.
I don't know what just happened. So, these kids, I think like computer science kids happen to be sitting across from us, and they end up like trying to put the computer back together. Right. So they're sitting here. So there's a group of people trying to put the computer back together.
No
And then
way.
finally, Jack says, after like 15 minutes of silence, someone ends up coming up to him and is like, hey, do you know that kid? And Jack's like, nah, man, I met him in our physics class, in our physics section, and should I like go check on him? I don't really know him. I have his I have his number or whatnot, and they're all like, man, I don't know. And the best part, so Harry takes the video because that was the best angle, and we put it on the UCSB free and for sale page.
Is that like on Facebook?
Yeah, on Facebook.
Okay.
Facebook, kind of just the UCSB community page.
Yeah.
Basically. And then we're sitting there, so everybody leaves, all the guys leave, and we're sitting there at home, and we're just watching the comments stroll through for hours and hours. And, I kind of felt bad for a little bit because there are a lot of people saying, man, this kid probably had a hard time. Why are you guys making fun of him?
Oh. Hey, at least people stuck up for you.
Right,
guys.
mental health is a real thing. There's not enough
Damn.
mental health for, people at college campuses.
Damn,
Professors shouldn't make it so demanding, and I'm sitting there like,
those people are too good for you, Bueno.
That sounds like,
They're too good for you.
did I just, open a box that I probably shouldn't have? But then a lot of people were like, oh, his dad's just going to buy him a new laptop, or, it was funny. It was good scrolling.
Were you catching looks from people at school?
So here's
for
the
a
best
while?
part. So then the UCSB Barstool page posts it that night, relatively after, a couple hours after. And the next morning, wake up, get a bunch of texts on TFM, right? And then it's on like other local news, like I had local Barstool pages, like LMU Barstool that morning too had it. And I got a couple texts from friends that go to LMU. They were like, yo, is this you? Barstool Sports also ended up posting it. And I go to.
He's so proud of this, dude.
So Wednesday morning, the next morning, I go to study at Kage with a friend of mine, which is like the little bougie cafe in Isla Vista.
Kage.
Right, and so we're sitting there, and I'm getting some looks. Right, I remember some people, and I'm walking down the street, and and I purposely put on the same shirt. Put my hat on backwards again.
You are
So
such a piece of work.
So
Alright.
So I'm walking down the street, I'm walking down B, I'm walking through, and people are going, give me some looks, definitely turning heads.
You should look you should look haggard, right? You should.
I was like head down, like walking down.
Oh, you're
like
pissed.
all pissed and stuff. It was ridiculous. It was absurd.
What if you just hung out at like the Apple store and like we're just berating an Apple person? Like, I just took it a little further.
Part 2.
So,
yo, I just saw him at the Apple
He's
store.
like slamming the enter button. It's like, look, this one doesn't work either. Like,
Yo, that would be so funny.
So the best part about all of this is over the next year, I got people at parties or in class, and they'd come up to me and be like, "Are you the laptop guy?" It was just.
Are you a phone kid?
Right, are you the laptop
Phone
guy?
kid.
I'm like, I don't work at fucking Metro PCS. Like, and they're like, no, like from the
I
video
have a
in the
name.
library.
It's Brandon Bueno.
And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, I'm so sorry. And I'm
Yo, dude.
I'm like,
So you had to just tell
Absolutely
the
not.
campus one by one that was just a whole
right, a bunch of people. So
Dude, he had to tell me this. Honestly, he had to put up an Oscar performance. I'm not kidding you.
Jack
like,
did the best part to sell it.
Yeah.
My friend across.
It was so real that Bueno was like, no, that was staged. And I was like, Bueno, you can't feed me that BS line that you didn't act. I thought he actually freaked out.
Dude,
Like,
that was
Absolutely.
awesome.
So the best/worst part about this is fast forward 6 months, and I meet who's my girlfriend now, Claire Grimes, and she invites me to her sorority date party, and this is like the 3rd or 4th time we've hung out or whatnot. She invites me, and I go, and then afterwards, she texts me like 3 days later, and she goes, like 3 or 4 girls came up to me saying, "You brought the laptop guy to date party," and she goes,
you
"What
brought
is-"
the laptop
She goes,
guy.
"What does that mean?" And I go, "Oh man,
No.
is this a bad thing? Did I screw this
Is
up?
this toast? Yeah.
Right? Is this hosed?" And I was like, "No, I mean, there's this video I did last year. I don't know, I was like, I don't
Most
know.
likely
I'm like, I don't know how you didn't see it, but I don't know if you saw it or not."
It's kind of a big deal, but alright.
And then I show it to her, and she goes, "Oh my God, that's what they're talking about?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't, it was 6 months ago,
It
but
was a
apparently,
joke,
but I had, it's kind of an afterthought at that point." She was like, "Yeah, a bunch of girls came up to me. You brought the laptop guy," and I'm like, "Fuck." But it all worked out.
It's a hilarious video. We'll post it for you guys to
We're
see
gonna put-
because it's genuinely hilarious.
It's gonna be an intro. You've most likely already seen it.
Oh, the best part about this was over that summer, Ridiculousness on MTV.
Yeah, Rob Dyrdek's show.
Yeah, ended up contacting my friend Harry, because he was the one who actually initially filmed the video. And they go, "Hey man, is this your video? We want to put it on our show so they can roast it, basically. We'd like the rights to your video. Would you mind releasing us the rights?" And he was like, "Hey, it wasn't me, but I'll give you the guy's email, who it was." So he gives him my email, and I get this email from, MTV Ridiculousness, producer or whatnot. He's like, "Hey, we want the rights to your show, or to your video, so we can put it on our show or whatnot." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure," and they were like, "We'll compensate you."
Can you give me money?
Right. They go, "We'll compensate you and whatnot," and I go, "Okay, cool, yeah, I don't care." And so they gave me like $300.
Dude, that's awesome. That's a win.
Nice. You
Total
got
win.
paid.
And then it was on, I don't remember the episode or whatnot. And
Um,
the funny part was, so they roast it. It was like, it wasn't very long. It was like 15 seconds. And I think it was second Hannibal. He was on the Eric Andre show.
okay.
Yeah,
Hannibal Buress.
Hannibal Buress is
right.
hilarious.
So he was on it, and he goes, his reaction, he goes, "Man, how's he gonna watch porn when he gets home?" And that was it.
So you got roasted.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple more things, but that was fun.
All right, moving back into the golf world.
Mm-hmm.
You cool if I talk about Collin?
Do it.
So we couldn't talk about golf without talking about kind of I feel like for our age, like a local LA kind of like
Homegrown legend.
superstar right now, you
Yes.
know? Collin Morikawa just won the PGA Championship last week,
Mhm.
right? It was last week.
Yep.
Last week.
What, put up 64?
On
Was that
Sunday.
score? Put up
Absolutely.
64 on
65,
Sunday?
64, Saturday, Sunday.
Epic scores.
Absolutely epic. He's a Cal product. Shout out to the UC
Was
Berkeley
that
crew.
Harding?
Huh?
Was that at
Yeah,
Harding?
TPC Harding
At
Park.
TPC Harding Park, and he went to Loyola High School.
Yeah.
So we were wondering if you're at all familiar with Collin, having come up in the same LA golf scene. Were you playing
Did
with
you guys
him in
play
tournaments?
Locking Out much? I know they were kind of a golf they were pretty good, right?
We didn't play them in high school matches because we were in separate leagues. But we did have a couple high school tournaments, through high school. The most notably one was the Champions Invitational. And I was a sophomore, and Collin's a year older. And Ricky Fowler, I don't know if you guys follow golf, you know who that is. He had previously, 10 years ago, set the scoring record for this tournament. Mm-hmm. And this tournament is in Palm Desert at Terra-Lago Golf Course, where they used to have a skins game for guys on tour. Tiger played in it and whatnot, so it's a good golf course. Mm-hmm. Collin goes out and shoots 61 the first round. And everybody's sitting there, the next closest guy is 69. I'm in with like a 73. And everybody's looking at each other like, holy shit.
This kid just shot a 61.
And then he goes up and backs it up with, I think, 64, 66.
Oof.
And he broke, don't quote me on the second two numbers, but he breaks Ricky's record and wins by, a landslide. And everybody's like, that was unbelievable golf. Mm-hmm. That was incredible. And, nobody was getting
close. That was a
close
junior
to
year
that.
of high school?
That was my sophomore year, so I think he was a junior.
Wow.
And
so he's been a beast for a very long time. Long time. So did he put the whole LA golf scene on notice in that tournament specifically, or has he been doing that pretty consistently? Or was that just your first interaction?
That was my first eye-opening experience. Obviously, I'd heard the name, I'd met him before, and you meet a lot of kids, you talk to a lot of kids, everybody's good, everybody claims to be really good, you hear a lot of names, but to play the same golf course he did, and for him to kick everybody's ass like that was something where
And then he did it against the best players in the world last week, so props to him, man.
Unbelievable.
Absolute beast.
Yeah, that's pretty epic.
Super nice kid.
Yeah. So you have any
So you have a personal interaction with him, right?
Talk
about that.
Yeah, so I played a couple 9-hole rounds, after school with him in high school at Brookside.
That's where the Rose Bowl is for people who aren't from California.
And laughs a lot. You think for a guy that good, they take it seriously, and they take it very seriously. But there's a balance between always being focused and taking it super seriously, and going in and out of focus. And he's hanging out, laughing, having fun. Really nice guy. Genuinely.
He seemed to carry that same mental attitude on Sunday in a major when he was in contention too, which shows major stones on his part.
Totally.
Absolutely.
All right, so now that we've talked about Collin, I want to ask you a little bit about this recent mishap that happened at the U.S. Amateur Tournament that's actually still going on right now. Because for those who don't know, there's two different types of golf. There's stroke play and match play. And can you just briefly break down what's the difference between the two?
So stroke play is your typical understanding of golf. So, on any given hole, I will take 4 or 5 shots for me to take it from the tee to the hole. And you add those up over the whole amount of round versus Finn's, maybe I shoot 75 and
Finn shoots like 140.
Yeah. Finn shoots 82. Okay.
Appreciate
if it was 75, 82.
I appreciate you, man.
I would end up beating Finn by 7. Okay. And it's the total number of strokes you take. Match play is differently. It's every individual hole is what makes up the total match. So on the first hole, I might make a 4 and Finn would make a 6, but I only won that hole.
Yeah.
So I'm 1 up. It's on a hole by hole.
Right.
So on the next hole, Finn might make a 3 and I make a 7. The match is back to all square.
Yeah.
I won the first hole. He won the second hole. Instead of the first hole I won by 2
You basically
strokes.
don't need to worry about bad holes ruining your
Correct. So
match.
What's interesting with match play is there are different strategies to playing. Stroke play is more of a conservative strategy because you want to be weary of the large numbers because they may hurt you. And if you play a great round of golf and then you have a 7 or an 8 in there, 3-4 over par, you end up hurting yourself, 3 or 4 strokes in the long run. Versus in match play, when you're not worried about the total score, only about worrying this hole, you may take more of an aggressive approach and take, not as conservative, balls to the wall, I got to win this hole. And if you hit in the water, if you hit it out of bounds, if you do something, you only lose
Right.
one hole, you're
Right.
one down. It's not.
And I imagine in stroke play, you can let your game get away from you, because if you're out of the tournament, you're out of the tournament. You're just like, your mental game's totally off. But in match play, you can be in it at any given moment. So you have to keep your game A1 throughout the whole day. Is the mental game a lot more challenging in match play than in stroke play?
Match play is huge, because stroke play, there's a saying of, play against old man par, which is par for the golf course. And you're basically playing the best round you can play, and you don't worry about what everybody else shoots and whatnot. And if you play your best round of golf, believe that you'll be towards the top of the leaderboard. You'll beat most of the guys, right? You don't worry about what they're doing. In match play, you're playing against your opponent. That's all that matters.
All you have to do is beat one guy.
Exactly.
Rather than beating a field of guys.
So technically, the guy who makes it to the end is not necessarily the best guy.
May have not shot the lowest total score, but beat his opponent.
There may be better golfers out there,
Right.
but he
So it's really interesting. Recently, and that's how this U.S. amateur tournament, who, Jack Nicklaus, Bryson DeChambeau, Tiger Woods won multiple times. All the legends have won it. So it's coming down to the wire now, and they're in the quarterfinals. And correct me if I'm wrong, they have how many people enter into the tournament every year?
I believe 64 make match play, so 128.
Okay, 128 total. So this guy in the quarterfinals, there's 8 people left, and there's this one guy from Argentina, and at this point, he's the only international player left in the tournament. And so he flew here from Argentina. It's being played in Bend, Oregon, at the Van & Dunes Golf Course, a very famous golf course in the U.S. So they assigned him a caddy. The USGA, he can't afford to bring his caddy out from Argentina. The USGA assigns him a caddy there, and they're tied on hole 18, right? And he's in a bunker, sitting 2. And all he has to do is pitch the ball in, up, and basically go up and down, and he can either tie or win. So he's very much in contention, all tied on the 18th hole. And his caddy steps into the bunker and swishes the sand around in with his hand like that, which is super illegal.
especially to do it right next to your ball. It's
right.
like he did this
Because at that course specifically, it's super windy, and the consistency of the sand wasn't well known. But any real golfer knows that the only 2 rules about a sandbox is you can't touch the sand with anything but your feet until you strike the ball. So if you put your club down in the sand, that's a penalty. Your hands obviously as well, because you're not allowed to test the consistency of the sand. All you can do is just move your feet around, right?
Yeah, so bunkers, sand traps, basically anywhere where you see sand on the golf course, it's technically considered a hazard. And there's layers of sand, and your ball might be resting it, and bunkers in different parts of the country and in different parts of the golf course may have more sand in them or less sand. And depending on how much sand is underneath your ball, changes how you would play that shot. How steep you would come into it, how much sand you would take, how far behind the ball you would play, all of those things. And that's crucial to understand. So, you're taught as a good player, you get in there, and because you can only test the sand with your feet, so you really dig your feet in and you shake your feet in the ground, and you can feel how much sand is underneath. And you hope that, your feet and the ball are maybe 2 feet away from each other, that it's where the ball is, the consistency. The consistency of the sand underneath the ball is somewhat similar to where you place your feet.
But that's the only legal way to test the sand.
Absolutely. Not always the case. So his caddy goes in, I guess thinks nobody's watching, kind of goes up to the guy's ball.
But there are cameras all on this golf course for this tournament. This is the
You're on national TV.
This is the biggest amateur tournament of the year.
And he basically tests the sand with his hand to see, to tell his player, hey, there's a lot of sand, or there's not that much sand under there, which would affect how he plays a shot. Clearly illegal, blatantly caught on TV, and it's an automatic loss of hole. And in a tournament, it's up to the committee that you might even be disqualified in a stroke play event. It ends up being the last hole of the tournament, or the last hole of his match, and they were tied. So automatic loss of hole, loses the match, go back to Argentina, thanks for playing. awful.
Brutal.
And the kid didn't do anything himself.
He didn't do anything himself, and it's not his caddy.
The caddy
It's
was
not his
assigned
caddy.
to him,
It's
too.
like, oof.
And the caddy was lying his ass off, too, during it. It was so sad to watch, bro. He had fucked up so bad, and he was lying his ass off, dude. And, like,
It's
the
just
other
tragic,
caddy,
dude.
like, was the guy's dad, and he was standing right next to him. He's like, dude, he's in the ref's ear. He's like, I watched him. I saw it. Like, look at the mark right there. There's a swish in the sand mark. Like, undeniable. And they had him on camera. So obvious. So we wanted to ask that I would consider a caddying nightmare. What, in your experience, what's the worst caddy nightmare you've ever experienced?
That's caddy nightmare fuel right there. That's what gives caddy nightmares.
For my brother's a caddy at Lakeside, and he's like, dude, like,
Even I would never do that.
I'm not
like,
even close to as good as a professional caddy, and that's like one of the first rules of being a caddy is don't fucking touch the sand.
You know.
So, what is your worst caddy story that you've heard or you've been involved in?
The first one that comes to mind is Tiger Woods when he wins the U.S. Open in 2000.
Oh,
okay. So his caddy is Stevie Williams, famous caddy. He was with Tiger for over a decade through Tiger's dominance. And
can I ask you a quick question?
Mhm.
How much do caddies make? Can they make
10% of the money, 10% of the purse that the player makes.
Oh, nice. Stevie Williams is
Good
is
money.
a millionaire.
so,
Good
yeah,
for
he
him.
made more money than most guys on tour just because
Tiger
10%
won so much
of
money.
Tiger was more
That's a
than
good
everybody
10%.
else.
All right,
True.
continue. Sorry, thank you.
So, 2000 U.S. Open at Pebble Beach, Tiger Woods, unanimously,
Decisively, yeah.
the greatest golf performance the world has ever seen. He won the U.S. Open by 15 shots. 15 shots to second place. That's a margin of victory unheard of before. And
Collin Morikawa won by 2 for reference. That's
You know.
that's typical. Like
He won by
between
15
2 to
shots
3.
in the U.S. Open, too.
right,
Repeat.
unfathomable. So it was clear how far beyond the rest of the field he was, and I believe it was on Saturday, the third round of the tournament. Tiger, or the night before,
They
the
couldn't
third round.
finish, right?
Right. So the on Friday they were rained out. So Tiger on Saturday would have to play the last 6 holes of his Friday round, and the other 18 holes that was his Saturday round. He's already got a big lead in winning the tournament. Okay, he's already won many
He's up
majors.
by 8. I think he's up by 8 at that point.
Yeah.
Sounds about right. So the night before, so Friday night, he goes into his golf bag in the hotel room and pulls a couple balls out of the bag. I think it was 3 balls or something like that. And he starts putting around. Doesn't put the balls back in the bag because that's his caddy's job in a certain sense to keep track of the balls, manage what's in the bag.
He manages the bag.
Right.
Mhm.
And that's caddy's job. Tiger.
Certain amount of clubs, certain amount of balls.
Right. Towels, drinks. Tiger eats a peanut butter banana sandwich every 3 holes.
Whatever.
Every
Stuff
3
like that.
holes?
Every 3 holes. So stuff
Is that-
like that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Is that a real thing?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So, stuff like that. It's the caddy's job to make sure he has.
Would you get tired of peanut butter banana? That's a
Dude,
it's
that's
dang
just
combo.
Tiger fuel, bro.
There's,
It's Tiger Fuel.
There's science behind it, I guess, nutritionally.
Dude,
Fast
something
energy.
wor-
I'm
something was
sure
working
with
that
Tiger
week.
Woods, there's a lot of logic behind that
Exactly.
decision. Like,
Okay.
Nothing's by chance.
You learn
with that
something new
guy.
every day. Cool.
So it's Stevie Williams, his caddy. It's Stevie's job to keep, make sure he's got everything in the bag, keep track every day. So Stevie had already prepared the bag for Saturday's round on Friday night before Tiger pulled those balls out. So Saturday they get on to, they resume the Friday round, the second round. They play the 6 holes, and then they get into Saturday's round. But Stevie didn't check the bag in the Saturday morning to make sure all the balls were still there, and he had everything.
so he started off with how many?
He started off with 6.
He loses 3. So he's basically down to 3.
He originally had 6 balls for 6 holes, fair. And now he has 3 balls for
No,
6
I think
holes.
there were 9 balls in the bag originally. Tiger pulled out 3, and then there were 6 left in the bag for 24
4
holes.
holes, yeah.
For 24 holes. As a professional golfer, you switch balls because the balls get scuffed as you play. You switch balls every, 3 to 6 holes, depending on,
What happens to it?
what happens to it. Some guys have the superstition,
Like bogey,
You
get
know,
rid of the ball.
if I made a couple birdies with this ball, I'm gonna keep it. If I didn't make a bogey or a double, I'm gonna throw it in the crowd. So Tiger, on the as on his Saturday round, his third round, the 12th hole, so he's only got 6 holes left to play, scuffs a ball, and he picks it up out of the hole, and it's pretty scuffed, so he just tosses it in the crowd to a fan. Not going to use it anymore. So now there's 2 balls left.
For how many holes?
For 5 more holes. Okay, so Stevie and gives him another ball, and Stevie's thinking to himself, and when he reached in there, he goes, holy shit.
Wait, so you're telling me he played 19 holes on 1 ball?
No, he had 6 balls
Yeah.
in the bag. So there were
Loses
previously
3,
9.
They start 3 at
We'll
20.
interchange 3 to fans, right?
Okay.
3 get scuffed. So now, you go through balls as the round progresses. And so now there were 3 balls left with 6 holes to play. Tiger scuffs one, throws it into the crowd. Stevie looks give him another ball, gives him a ball, and now he realizes, holy shit, there's only 1 ball left.
After this one.
After the one that he's got.
On 12.
On this is on 13 tee.
Yeah, on 13.
Something. So Tiger plays the next, 5 holes or 4 holes with that ball, and then gets to 18 tee at Pebble Beach. And the 18th tee, and he's maybe got a 12-stroke lead at this point.
Yeah.
It's a foregone conclusion. Tiger's going to win the U.S. Open, and by, almost
Handily. Yeah.
the most incredible performance ever. And he gets up to the tee box, and it's this long par 5, kind of in the shape of a banana to the left. And there's the ocean, the cliff and ocean all along the left side, and there's houses down the right side. And Tiger, this shot doesn't necessarily suit his eye. Tiger likes to see a fade, and this hole is more suited to a player who sees a draw. And he gets up and hits the first one in the ocean. And Stevie's sitting there like, oh my God, there's 1 ball left. And so he gives it to Tiger, and knowing full well if Tiger loses this ball, that he's disqualified from the tournament. That the U.S. Open that he's handily going to win in the greatest performance ever. And so he gives it to Tiger, and he goes, Tiger, why don't we hit an iron off this tee? As if you just hit one in the water. And Tiger looks at him and he goes, Stevie, what the hell are you talking about?
Are you dumb?
Are you
like,
dumb?
dude,
No,
I'm
shut up,
going for
Stevie.
broke, bro. Like,
Right.
I'm killing it right now. Like,
So Stevie's sitting there shitting his pants, as Tiger tees it up and gives it another lash, and Tiger ends up, hitting it in the fairway or in the rough, and Tiger still got another shot because the cliff runs all along the side of the hole.
Right.
Tiger ends up finishing with that ball, and Stevie ends up telling him after the round, he was like, hey, Tiger, you were on your last ball there, by the way. Because if Stevie were to tell him on 18T, hey, this is your last ball, that, it messes with the player's psyche.
oh yeah, by the way, if you lose this, all of this is for nothing. Yeah, like you can't tell
Yeah.
an athlete like that. That's terrible.
Doesn't work that way. So, that is probably one
Plus,
of
it's a lot more forgivable if you win. You
So
know what I mean? Like,
the best performance of golf ever almost got messed up by a mishap on the ball count.
I would love to go back and see the videos of his face during that.
Oh, well, dude, wow.
I think there is
crazy.
one. There is one.
It must be the biggest, like...
Have you had any personal run-ins? I mean, who caddies? Do you guys, have you ever had a caddy before?
I have. So my dad and mom have both caddied for me. A couple friends of mine have caddied for me. My coach, my swing coach, has caddied for me before. I would say I haven't had an issue with a caddy of mine, but I have seen actually it happened in the bunker again. It's another caddy of a player. A player was in a bunker, and there were footprints on the other side of the bunker. 20 feet away, big bunker, and the
Not a problem.
caddy's holding the rake, and before the player goes up to hit his ball, the caddy's like, I'm just going to rake these footprints over here. Unintentionally, not to test the sand, nor would testing the sand 20 feet away from the
do
ball
anything.
really have a large
Damn.
impact. So he goes and he rakes the sand there, and a rules official happened to be on the hole and goes up to him and he goes, hey, you can't do that. And he goes, do what? Because he didn't intend to do anything wrong, the caddy. And he was like, you raked the bunker before your player hit. You tested the sand in that bunker. And according to the rules, yes, he had,
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Made that fault.
That's
so.
sad.
That was kind of a sad one. And
I can't be a rules official because I couldn't do that.
Yeah,
I just couldn't.
You don't want to be that person. You know?
And that happens a lot. I mean, more often than not, guys will do something wrong, but a lot of times it's unintentional.
Sure.
And it's always kind of a tough, I don't want to say tough spot, but everybody's got to be honest to themselves.
Everyone's got a soft spot in their heart for that
True.
kind of moment. You know what I mean? Where it's like,
all right, so you recently just came off like an East Coast kind of golf tour that your family went on, because your whole family are avid golfers, and you went and played Beth Page Black, right, in New York, that hosted the last PGA Championship before the one at TPC Harding Park that Brooks Koepka won. So we wanted to ask some of your favorite courses you played across the U.S. or maybe other parts of the world.
So Bethpage Black, easily the hardest golf course I've ever played.
No way.
And I played from where they had the PGA Championship tees. They moved it from a par 71 to a par 70. They made one of the par 5s into a par 4. And that was an awesome experience to play. And to see, I played well, but Brooks Koepka to shoot 63 on that setup was
nuts. Yeah.
That's
What'd you shoot on?
Unbelievable. I shot 75, and I shot 35 on the front 9, and on the back 9, I missed 3 fairways, and all 3 times I missed the fairways, I made double.
Sure.
And I made a birdie in there to
counteract that.
Right. So it's long par 4s. It's on the back 9, I think there's like 3 par 4s over 500 yards.
Jeez.
And the rough is yay high, so if you find your ball, you're only advancing it 30 yards up the fairway, and if you miss the fairway, it's automatic bogey or worse. So, and you have to hit driver because the hole's long enough that it forces you to hit a driver. So it was an incredible experience. It was super cool. Definitely the hardest course I've ever played. My favorite golf course would probably be Riviera.
Really?
Riviera Country Club.
Awesome.
In Pacific Palisades, I'm here in LA, where they play the Genesis Open now.
Right.
Otherwise dubbed as the LA Open.
It used to be the Northern Trust, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. They changed sponsors. And it was, I played Riviera maybe 20 times. And it is a great setup because it's not, Bethpage Black was a grind. It was hard. It was, you're supposed to make bogeys. You're supposed to fight for pars. You might sprinkle in a birdie here or there if you hit great shots. Riviera is a really balanced test of golf. In order to shoot low there, you have to be on your game. And if you're out of position, then you are going to struggle. So what it tests not only the great ball striker and the great putter, but it also tests the great course, game manager. Again, back to course management. Missing in the correct spots, having the right game plan to navigate the course correctly. So it's difficult, but it's a very fair test of golf.
Dude, the greens at Riv are crazy.
They're awesome.
They're crazy.
I think
they're so nuts.
They're over the past 5 years, they've been the most consistently 3-putted greens on tour. Top 5.
Really?
Top 5 most 3-putted.
Completely believe that.
Hopefully
It's incredible how they navigate that. And it's funny, you'll see golfers have put up big numbers at Riv.
Yeah.
That are good golfers too, because it's just I feel like it's easy to fall apart there.
We got a couple more questions for you as we're wrapping up, and so now we kind of just wanted to talk about. We know the season was kind of abruptly ended because of COVID, and we know you have some future plans in terms of your golf career. So we want to tee you up. Sorry on the pun.
But no, we don't apologize for puns here.
Yeah, that was pretty punny of me, but tee you up to just kind of talk about some of your future plans and what we can look forward to out of you in the next couple of years.
Absolutely. So, because of COVID-19 that hit in February, March. Our
was your season underway yet? Or?
Yes, it was. So we golf plays all year round, but our main season, we're considered a spring sport, and the conference championships and NCAAs, regionals, natties are all in May. So that's the part of the season that matters. That's when you want to be peaking. That's when you want to play well. That's what the whole year is geared towards. And so ours got canceled this year in February. Luckily, I had redshirted my freshman year at UCSB. So I had the ability to, I just finished my 4th year, and I had the ability to play a 5th year if I wanted to. And so at the beginning of the year, I went to coach, and I said, hey, coach, I feel like I've been getting better every year, and I feel like now I'm a vital part of the team. And you're going to have a bunch of guys leave at the end of this year, one of them possibly being me. And I'm the only one that has another year of eligibility, and you're going to be, I don't want to say be stuck with, but you're going to be left a very young, inexperienced team. I'd love to play another year. I'm on track to graduate in 4 years, but I want to be here another year. I want to play for you another year. And it would give me, myself, another year of time to prepare myself for professional golf, which is what I want to do. And, get bigger, stronger, clean things up in my swing.
Yeah.
And so coach said, yeah, let's do it. So I got super lucky there that I had an extra year, and I already had it planned out. So coronavirus, canceling the end of our season.
Now, does that give you an extra year of eligibility?
So yes, so technically I can do a 6th year if I want, and play a 6th year.
Yeah.
If I want.
6-year senior. Ooh.
Not sure about that.
Yeah.
But Alabama is a pretty cool place.
Tommy, yeah. Tommy boy.
Post for 2 more years.
So here's the cool thing, or golf clubs.
Those are golf clubs.
Don't sweat it.
So the cool thing about it for me is that I was really looking forward to playing, and I was playing really well actually. The last round I played was I shot 67 at La Cumbre with a new set of irons. First time playing with these irons, I'm like, let's go. We've got a tournament in 5 days. We're gonna leave. It was up in SLO, San Luis Obispo, and at a course that I really liked. So I was excited, playing well, to get after it. Boom, shit hits the fan, everything canceled, and everything got locked down, and everybody knows what happened after that.
Right.
But the interesting thing about it is because I have my sights set on playing professional golf, and that's what I want to do. That's what I've wanted to do since I was a little kid. That's what I've been passionate about, and that's what I've worked my whole life to do. And I knew in the back of my mind that there were things in my game that needed to change for me to play professional golf. I hit it really high. I had a lot of spin on my ball, and I hit a big, fade. That's kind of my trademark. And that was really good and really consistent, but there are golf courses where you need to hit it the other way.
Yeah.
You need to hit some big draws. And not that I couldn't hit the draw, I couldn't hit it consistently. I wasn't comfortable hitting it, as comfortable as I should be. And, taking spin off the ball is a big part of controlling your ball flight and golf at a much higher level. So I knew these changes needed to be made. It's hard to make changes in any sport when you consistently have to perform, right? So if I have a tournament in 2 weeks, I want to be gearing up for that tournament. I want to be playing. My mind is focused on that tournament. My mind is not focused on, I need to make these changes in my swing.
So you can be better down the road.
So I can be better down the road.
You don't have time for that.
Absolutely. And, if I try making these changes, I'm not going to be as consistent in that tournament because I'm not used.
Working on
I'm actively working on it. I'm not used to this.
Yeah, it's not time for practice. It's time for playing.
Exactly. And the same thing with putting on weight. I want to be 15, 20 pounds heavier. I want to have more muscle. I want to be stronger. It's hard to be sore and adjust to that while you're swinging. Not just sore, but stronger, I've tried to do it before, and you go out there and you hit a couple balls too far, and you go, well, I don't know how far I hit the ball anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
An 8-iron used to go 160 yards. I just accidentally hit one 170 yards. What the fuck?
Yeah.
How am I
going to do course management with that?
Exactly.
And I imagine to a degree there'd be a level of like the yips where it's like if you're going to try something out in a competition, it's not working out, your score's creeping up on you, it's competition, you're letting your team down, you're like probably going to detract from furthering your game. You know what I mean? Because it's just like there's a negative reinforcement with it, Yeah.
So I've taken this opportunity since March to revamp and make the changes I've needed to make, which because I haven't, been forced, I don't want to say forced to, but I haven't been, I haven't needed to play any tournaments. So that's an awesome thing for me. And my game right now, we're in August, 5 months later, is significantly improved as to where it was then.
Yeah.
Dude,
And I still have 3-4 months to go until I have to play in another tournament.
If you
That's great news.
could you potentially walk us through what a path to the PGA Tour for Brandon Bueno might look like?
Absolutely. So, we're going to scratch the whole coronavirus aspect of it for now, but I'll equate it to baseball. So, in baseball, you have MLB, the show, the major leagues, right? And then you have AAA and AA, and then single A, right? In golf, it's very similar. You have the PGA Tour, which is, we'll equate that to the major leagues in baseball. And then you have the Korn Ferry Tour, which Korn Ferry is a
management consultant,
right?
A naming partner.
Exactly. So it's basically the AAA Tour, and then underneath the AAA Tour, underneath the Korn Ferry Tour, there are 3 smaller tours. There's the Mackenzie Tour, which is PGA Tour Canada. There's the PGA Tour Latino America and PGA Tour China. So each one of these has a qualifying.
Are those all AA?
Those are all AA
gotcha.
equivalents. These are all equivalents.
Okay.
And what you do is you qualify into one of these 3 tours, and then if you play well enough, top 10 over the season, then you move up to the Korn Ferry Tour. And then if you top 25 in the Korn Ferry Tour, then you move up to the PGA Tour. So there are ways in which you can somewhat skip the traditional process. Most PGA Tour events have Monday qualifying. So the week before the tournament, if the tournament starts on a Thursday, the Monday there's a qualifier to get into the PGA Tour event. Normally that qualifier, the exemptions are for guys on the Korn Ferry Tour. So there's a pre-qualifier for the qualifier for a PGA Tour event, which is anybody in college and guys without Korn Ferry Tour or without Korn Ferry Tour status. So a guy like me or a guy in college, in order to skip that route, for instance, Jordan Spieth, it's a great example. He Monday qualified into a PGA Tour event, and then he top 10. He got a top 10 in that PGA Tour event.
So he's locked in for the next one.
So he was able to play the next one. If you top 10 in a PGA Tour event, you're eligible to play the next week. They give you exemption the next week. And the next week, he ended up winning the PGA Tour event. And when you win a PGA Tour event, you get, along with the $1.3 million or whatever, you get
big payday.
The casual 1.8.
You get a 2-year exemption on the PGA Tour. So
so you're in it.
At that moment, Jordan Spieth had his PGA Tour card, and that is a bypass. That happens once every 20 years or so.
That's just shooting straight to the top.
Correct. So the traditional route, and the way it's framed is, or formatted, is that you qualify for one of the 3 smaller tours. You spend a year doing that, and you spend a year on the Korn Ferry Tour, and then you're on the PGA Tour, assuming you play well.
And you hustle to stay in there.
Correct. Professional golf is a grind.
And when you're on the PGA Tour, you got to keep qualifying every Monday, right?
No, when you're on the PGA Tour, you're into every one of the events. But in order to stay on the PGA Tour for the next year, you got to get inside the top 125 players on tour.
Gotcha.
And that cut actually is being made tomorrow, right? On the end of the FedEx Tour. So that'll be interesting to see how that works.
You guys are hustling.
Yeah, it's big moving day on Sunday. So for you, I know it's typical. I know Jordan Spieth's first tournament he played was a course that he was super familiar with in Dallas, where he's from, where he played a lot of tournaments in high school. Are there any tournaments you have your eye on that are at courses you're super familiar with, or tradition, courses you score on that you could potentially do that route on, or are you looking to go into Q school after you graduate next year?
I'm thinking, right now we're in August of 2020, and I've got one more year of school in order to get my body, game, and mind in the spot where I want to when I turn pro. So I'm thinking basically 11 months to a year in advance from now when Q school is. And it's at that point where
explain Q school.
So Q school is basically one tournament that, anybody can sign up for, but it is expensive, and that's how they limit the amount of people that sign up. You only sign up if you're serious, Q School is $2,500 for one tournament, and you know the top 14 players gain status into one of the 3 tours, whichever one you do the Q School for. So I would probably do Canada Tour Q School, the Mackenzie Tour, and play, you know, hope, I don't want to say hopefully, but play well in that, and then get my card for Canada Tour.
Does that give you an exemption for a full year on the Canada Tour?
It does.
Okay.
For the season, we call it the season.
Right.
And then hopefully.
Would that be the summer after you graduate? Is it start?
Right. So it starts exactly summer. So in basically a year from now. Unfortunately, this year, due to COVID-19, the Canada Tour was canceled, along with many other tours and sports in general, which put a lot of guys in limbo who were, you know, I'm lucky enough that I got an extra year.
Yeah.
To
but kids that made it, or I mean, we're trying to make it, are kind of in a tough.
Exactly. Are in a tough spot right now.
Where they're gonna have a lot of competition too for the next one.
Yeah, exactly. There's almost like 2 years of kids.
The timeline for you looks like you're gonna play your senior season, get your body right, mind right, get your game right, play Q School, top 14 for Canada Tour, play a season on the Canada Tour, and then are there opportunities? Because I know the way the opens work are pretty unique in terms of like their field is wider than most PGA Tour events, right?
Yeah.
Or how does that work?
So some PGA Tour events are considered opens, some are invitationals. I would say probably the good majority of PGA Tour events are opened. It's probably about 70%. And then every tournament on the Korn Ferry Tour is also an open, which means they have a Monday qualifier. So in the process of playing Canada Tour, I would also travel and try to play in Monday
Korn Ferry events?
Monday Korn Ferry qualifiers in order to see if I can that week play on the Korn Ferry Tour tournament instead of the Canada Tour tournament. And the Korn Ferry Tour has less or more lax standards, as in top 35 you get exempt to the next week.
Cool.
And then if you keep that running, then you can almost get your Korn Ferry Tour card.
So do you think those opportunities are going to come? How frequently do you think those opportunities will come as you play a season on the Canadian Tour?
So the cool thing about professional golf, unlike any other sport, is that you control your own destiny. Nobody has to scout you. Nobody has to believe in you. Nobody has to sign you.
That's cool.
Nobody has to do anything. It's simply if you show up and you play the best, you move on. So it is solely and 100%.
It's not disputable.
Yeah.
It's
up
not
to you.
It's not hype surrounding this player. It's
Nothing like that. And that's the really cool thing about it.
That is really cool.
I know it's the way I think about it. If I work hard enough, if I train in the correct manner, that I will make it one day. And like every sport, there are guys who should have made it and don't end up making it, and guys who you would have think had no chance of making it, tried it, and just happened to catch lightning in a bottle for a couple months, and boom,
found their
they're
ticket.
on tour.
Looking at you, Alex Caruso. For real.
Exactly.
That was thank you so much for explaining that, dude. That seems really cool. It seems like you have a lot of intrinsic motivation behind your plan.
Yeah.
So you have all of our support, obviously, and we're going to be really stoked once you
rooting for you, Bueno.
once you crack into the Canada Tour, Korn Ferry, and eventually PGA. All right, so we're wrapping up again with What's Up, Doc, this week. Bueno actually had a really good idea because the documentary that he wanted to propose was one that I've already recommended, but then he said there's a sports psychology book that he's read multiple times that he wants to pitch. So
I'm gonna go with the book. I get it. I'm a nerd, but a nerd at what I do, which is golf.
I might follow you with the book.
And sports. So my book is I read, but I only read sports psychology books, and The Rise of Superman. It has nothing to do with like comic books
Marvel.
or superheroes or anything like that. What it is, it's the author. So in sports psychology, any sport, golf, baseball, basketball, when someone is playing their best, they're in a state of flow. We've all experienced this state of flow. It's a point where you are focused on a task and you lose sense and track of everything else. So we've all, the easy way to describe it is everybody's been, obsessed with a project or something, and you're doing something, and all of a sudden you look up and you go, holy shit, it's been 2 hours.
Right.
And you didn't even realize it.
Where'd all the time go?
You were in the zone. You could call it the zone. And the author basically goes on this quest. He goes, how do we find the zone? And he goes, what route would I take on finding this? And he goes, goes to extreme sport athletes, big wave surfers,
Yep.
Big ramp skateboarders,
Marathon runners,
bikers, the gnarly outdoor, like big mountain skiers, snowboarders, crazy
life-threatening stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So his idea was, if these guys don't achieve the peak performance, the cost is their life.
Yeah.
It's death. And how is it that a guy like Laird Hamilton is able to hop on this, death ride, basically,
Yep.
and get through it every time? What is his secret? Guys like Tony Pastrana, right?
Travis
Pastrana. First guy to do a backflip on a motorcycle. People didn't even think it was physically possible to do a backflip on a motorcycle. And now here guys are hucking, triple backflips and McTwists and crap like that, right?
Scary shit.
What is it about these guys that these things have never been done, and they say, I'm going to do it, and they pull it off every time? So it's I'm not going to spoil it or whatnot, but that was the author's take on how to find the state of flow, and he interviews a lot of these guys, and he takes it. So from a sports performance point of view, that's my favorite book.
Sweet, man. And I'll piggyback kind of off the action sport part, because I'm going to pitch my favorite documentary, which you can easily find on like 123 Movies. I'm sure they have it bid on there. It's my favorite 30 for 30, and it's called The Birth of Big Air. It's the story about Matt Hoffman, who's like kind of the premier BMX dude in the 90s. And, he's been featured in a bunch of Jackass movies.
He's a crazy man.
Yeah, absolutely wild. He built this.
They're all psychopaths.
He built this like 35-foot rickety ramp at his house in Oklahoma, and just like sent it, and unofficially broke the record the first time he went up there, and then does it a couple more times on like a motorized bike. Almost breaks his neck, and like is still doing it like the second he can. He's cleared to. Like the guy's an absolute nut.
Has no
and
fear.
his story is so sick. And then he, obviously, a lot of people are inspired by him, and he kind of, birthed the whole new crew of, badass skaters and snowboarders and bikers that were sending it as high as he was. Like Sean White said, he wouldn't have ever thought that anybody could go that high before watching Matt Hoffman. So an absolute beast. I would totally recommend it.
All right, so I'm going to go with a book actually as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not setting precedents for the future, but
this is a one-time thing.
I'm going book. There's a book by a data scientist, but more of a cognitive scientist named Steven Pinker.
Okay.
And it's called Enlightenment Now. And it basically is a book, and I'm suggesting it mainly with what's going on right now. It's a case for optimism. So it's basically, talks about some of these things like recency bias and negativity bias, where it's like, it's pretty easy to think the world's a bad place. You know what I mean? And he basically says that, outlining it with the Enlightenment principles of like the Enlightenment period during like the 1700s, he says there are four main things. There's reason, science, humanity, and progress. And he's basically saying that by using all of those four things, we have actually unequivocally made the world a better place. And he breaks it down in every regard. He's like, poverty, so much better. Education, so much better. The violence we have in this world, so much better. So it's a really cool book because he kind of breaks down a lot of the things that it's easy. You always hear it's like, well, the world is this much worse off. It's like, no, it's not. Actually, we've made multiple horrible diseases go extinct virtually. You know what I mean?
Right.
we're a lot closer to making AIDS go extinct than you think.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of people are like, "Oh, nuclear war. Eventually, the
Right.
the world's just gonna blow up."
It's
We're
hard.
actually-
It's hard to have that level of optimism these days. So
It
might
is.
be nice to revert to
Absolutely.
that.
It's hard to have that level of optimism, and he does a very good job of not just making it an emotional argument for it, but giving you data to back it up.
Mm-hmm.
And it really does give you a little bit of kind of faith in
I wonder what his
humanity.
take on 2020 is. You know, Maybe
I
let's see what
want
his-
to know so badly.
Let's see,
I'm
let's see
actually
him do an interview or something.
I'm thinking about sending him an email because honestly, he's a regular guy. He's a
Mhm.
cognitive science professor at Harvard. Like
Right.
I don't think he's like
Should be like, your book is really inspiring. Like,
Yeah.
how would you attribute some of these, ideas
explain
to what
this
we're
grim
going on with
outlook
today?
away. Yeah,
Right.
please. Yeah, no. So
Or maybe like ask him like, could you potentially write a book within the context of what we're living in now?
totally, dude. I bet he does because he does a lot of books like these. But yeah, I'll keep you guys posted if I do send him an email. But it's a really good book. It's called Enlightenment Now. It's a good book.
Right on. So that is us wrapping up episode 6 of Loading with Will and Finn, featuring Brandon Bueno. Thank you so much for joining us this week,
Of course,
brother.
brother.
That was
Appreciate you, brother.
fantastic. Thanks for
That was
dropping knowledge
awesome.
on golf. Hopefully,
Awesome.
you guys
Hey, look
learned
out for
something.
him on the tour, right?
Yeah, root for our boy.
In a couple of years.